is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers, and it is that time. That's right. It's the end of the month, and that means it's time for the best comics of the month stream, the best comics of July 2023. What are they? Well, I can't determine that on my own. So I got to have a panel of some of the most highly esteemed comic book YouTubers out there that agree to do this show with me. All right, so we got a big time guest with us tonight. First time appearing on the channel, on this panel, on this stream. Y'all, this is my dude. Me and him tore it up at Heroes Con this year. Y'all, come on. Throw out a mighty warm station and a pop, pop, boom for my dude, Chris from Lost in Comics. What's up, my man?
Robbie, man, dude, I'm pumped to be here tonight, man. I'm like, I watch this show. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree, and I'm like, I want to be a voice there. And now that you and I have kind of connected, and man, I had a great time at Heroes Con. Dude. I'm counting down the clock already for next year. I'm
Exactly.
like, dude, I had such a great time. But man, thank you for having me, man.
Of course, and thank you for coming, because I know that you typically do your show on Thursday nights. So thank you
Which
so much
we did on Tuesday, so you know, just a busy week.
I appreciate you accommodating yourself to join us tonight, because I got to get your voice on this panel. And one of the ulterior motives is that the two of us are here to convince the other panelists that they need to be at Heroes Con next year.
Yes,
like 100%.
100%.
You out there in the chat, thank you all so much for joining us. Let's bring in the rest of the panel. We got Nick from Comic Culture. What is up, my dude?
What's going on, guys? Glad to be here. I'm excited for tonight. Got a lot of energy. Backstage was awesome. I can't wait to get into these books, man. These are gonna be so cool.
Heck yeah, man. Do you also appreciate that I have given up on the OnlyFans bit at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. The subs are going down on that a little bit. I've noticed ever since you stopped dropping that. But it's okay. That's okay.
Well, it's because you took away my free year, man, right? My first free year ended, you didn't renew it for me, bro.
Your free subs through Amazon stuff. Oh, that's Twitch. Never mind. That pays us money. Yeah, Heroes Con, man. Let's do it. Let's do it next year.
Let's do it, bro. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's all hang out where you don't even know. You don't even know what it's like having drinks with Alex Cormack. You know what I'm saying?
I want to know.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
And Jim Shooter in the room. Everybody's buying them drinks. Just like, you don't have to buy them a drink. Everybody else is. Speaking of buying drinks, we'll all buy you a drink if you show up to Heroes Con. Carrie, the OUG. What is up?
That is me, and I am the OUG. Man, I have so many cons that I want to go to. Okay, so like if I had to choose between MegaCon and Heroes Con, which one?
Depends. Do you want to meet comic book creators and hang out with them, or do you want to get shit-faced drunk with a lot of cool people?
I want to meet comic book creators and hang out with them.
All right, you need to do
Heroes
both.
Con.
Well, we have a both and Heroes Con. Okay.
Yep. Heroes Con is, as much as I love the MegaCon experience, because I got to hang out with some friends of the show and have a good time. The con itself was great. I met Frank Miller, right? However, Heroes Con's where you want to go, especially if I'm there, because as Chris learned, Robbie says be somewhere.
Things happen.
Robbie said go downstairs. Dude, so we were there in the hotel. Just real quick, first night, right? You and I passed each other on the street. We're going to Buffalo Wild Wings. You guys are coming from Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm like, dude, there's nothing going on down at the where the con was or at the bar. But the second night, dude, and I listened to you. We went back, and dude, that was an amazing night. It's one that I will never forget, man, for sure. John Lees, Alex Cormack. I had a guy next to me at the bar. We were buying drinks, and he what did he say? He was like, dude. He's like, dude. And he's, he's had some drinks, and I'm like, what is it, dude? And I don't know who he is. And he's like, dude, Jim Shooter just touched my shoulder. And I was like, dude, you better take that shirt off right now and give it to me. Yeah. It was just such a fun time. Community creators, had the pouch with me. My co-host had you. Man, it was just a blast, man. Cannot say enough good things about it.
It was a blast. And this panel is always a blast. And the reason why it's always a blast is because of one man in particular. It's Manny, Island Boy Manuel. What is up, my man?
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you so much. Oh, I did a whole bunch of motion graphics the one night because I have no life. And I was like, I need to use these. So thank you for the opportunity, my friend.
There you
Well,
go.
thank you for being here.
Oh.
Use them as much as you want, man. I love it. I love that. I love that stuff.
Really?
Yes.
That wasn't a question mark though. So that was more like really.
I've got 3 of those, and I named them V1, V2, V3. So we'll all be surprised by what I mean.
Hammer Time Holshoe is true. When he saw Weezer with me, and Jack White was there with us in front, our new friend Jack White, he did touch John's shoulder and said, "Take care."
Nice.
And John, I told John to get Jack White's handprint tattooed on his chest with the words "Take care" in the hand.
Wow.
But, yeah. But we're not going to go off about music tonight. We're going to get right into the show. We appreciate everybody being here. We'll be highlighting your comments. Join the conversation. There might be some slight spoilage coming out.
Yep.
But don't worry about that. Like, we're not going to spoil any. Like, we're going to spoil some stuff. We're going to probably talk about Hellfire Gala at some point, even if it's nobody's pick, because I didn't cover that on my weekly review, and I want to talk about it a little bit. But usually, Chris, since it's your first time here, I would let you go first, but there was a W. Maxwell Prince book this month, so I don't want anybody to steal it.
Yeah, I figured you'd do
You
that.
dog, dude.
So
you
my-
dog.
My pick of the month is Swan Songs. by
Yeah,
W.
that would have been mine.
Oh,
Yep.
Whoops.
You knew it.
Welcome to the panel. Now you know how it feels. All right.
You dog. All
I'm
right.
picking Swan Songs, man. This book touched me in so many ways. I lost
Yes.
my mom at a point in 2008, right? So when I deal with stories that deal with like a mom being sick or a mom dying or something like that, it kind of hits me hard automatically, right? So it's already there. Then it's W. Maxwell Prince, who has the uncanny ability to make a comic book that is about the despair of life also feel vibrant and interesting and innovative and deeper than just sad dad type stuff, which we get from Jeff Lemire all the time. And if Brian was here tonight, he would probably pick a sad dad Jeff Lemire book, which he did do one this last month. Anyway, I love this issue. The artwork is top notch. The art is by Martin Simmons in the first issue. Each issue is going to be a different artist, and each issue is about the end of something. The first issue is the end of the world. So it's about a mother and son. The mother is dying during the apocalypse. She's got like cancer, right? As is what I think it is. And she's slowly dying. The son is spending all of his time ignoring the apocalypse, the end of the world outside, right? And he's reading Reader's Digest to his mother, right? Is that, no, it's Better Homes and Garden.
Better Homes and
yeah.
Garden. Yeah.
Better Homes and Garden. And he hears a rumor that there was one more issue published before everything went to shit. And he goes on this trek, on this journey through this apocalyptic world to find this last issue of this magazine, to bring it back and read it to his mother before she passes. This book is about the end of the world, literally, but also figuratively, because it's the end of this dude's world when his mom dies. It is the end of something, right? And it was so freaking touching. Martin Simmons is so masterful. His work on Department of Truth, his work on Friendo, which is completely different in an aesthetic, right? But I love his work. He did Punk Is Not Dead, I believe, with Teenie Howard. Upcoming, he's doing Dracula, the adaptation of the Universal Monsters movie with Bela Lugosi. He's doing that with James Tynan. Like, I love Martin Simmons. If he can draw, Martin Simmons could draw a whole issue of just people talking and explaining things to each other, and I would love it. In fact, he does do that every month in Department of Truth. So I love this book. I thought it was top-notch. My favorite book of the month by far, and I'm excited for the next issue, which is going to be the death of a marriage, the end of a marriage or something. And by the way, there's the end of the world. Spoilers. It is. It's also a tie-in to Oppenheimer. It's Oppenheimer Part 2 at the end. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about Swan Songs?
Dude, it is also my favorite book of the month. And of course, and it came out at the beginning of the month, so that says a lot, right? Because we've had a lot of books since then. Something real quick about just Martin Simmons, dude. I think his art is very situational, right? So, and what I mean by that is you can't put him on just a standard, superhero comic or something kind of light. His art is it can be heavy, right? It's perfect for Department of Truth. It's perfect for this book. I think the situation, the end of the world, I think that is he drew the perfect backdrop to that issue. So immediately when you open the book, you get that Martin Simmons art right away in your face. You're already in this state of mind as you start to read the book. And then you get that W. Maxwell Prince, that iconic, what he does with Ice Cream Man. He just pulls at your heartstrings. And it tears you up, dude. Like like you said, it's about this son with his mother. The interesting thing is they all know they're going to die. It's the end of the world. She's going to die, obviously, of the sickness. He's eventually going to die because the world is ending, but yet he's willing to risk his life to go on this journey to go find this one magazine to collect, to finish her Better Homes and Gardens magazine collection. So, I mean, there's just so many great parts about it. The fact that he's willing to go risk that, to get that magazine to her, to give her that satisfaction right there in her dying moments. It tore me up, dude. Like and like every good W. Maxwell Prince book, man, we had him on the show, right? And I told him, I said, everybody says your books are sad, and they are, right? But they're also very sobering. I said, when you talk to your peers, Will, tell them like, hey, I'm not sad. I'm sober. My stories are sobering. And they are, because they give you this very just this look into humanity it just takes every facet of humanity apart and gives us that look into it. Makes us kind of better after we read it. And I love this book, dude. It would have been my pick as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry to steal it from you, but
no, it's good.
My show.
I knew I had a feeling that we'd both agree on that. So yeah.
Well,
great.
There was no Ice Cream Man this month, so I had to. Luckily, I had something else to fall back on. What about you,
I loved
Nick?
it.
What'd you think about it?
Yeah, it was amazing. So we talked about Chris just mentioned Martin Simmons' artwork. So when you opened up the very first page, you actually are presented with this like skyscraper. The world is on fire, rain's coming down. It automatically sets you in the mood of what kind of story you're about to get into. And you can just assume, based on this creative team, it's about to get heavy, it's about to get real, it's about to get poetic, it's about to be beautiful. And that's exactly what we got inside of the book. And I absolutely loved it. I mean, just the portrayal between the mother and the son, that relationship was very beautiful. He's doing everything he can do to make her last moments impactful, meaningful, right? Just that bonding moment. Absolutely fell in love with that. I love books, and there's some other books we might talk about later in the show, but I love books that have little, almost like philosophical tidbits in them that when I read it, I stop and I'm like, damn, I got to reread that again, And this book had several of those in there, just like a perspective kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely loved it. Beautiful mix of writing and art. Great pick. It was definitely in my top, probably 2 books of the month. Great pick.
Nice. Carrie, did you read this one?
I did not. This is disappointing to me. I did not. It sounds really good, though. I'm gonna have to go check that one out.
For sure.
Yeah, we got to start sending Carrie a list. Right beforehand.
You know what really stinks. Okay, because I've taken some suggestions from here, right? And my Image comics did not come in this week.
Yeah.
Because right off the bat, things that came out this week that I would have probably picked. And I have not read them. And it stinks so bad. They're sitting at Diamond right now.
Yep. And that's the reason why Image is moving to Lunar. So there you go.
I would think so, because I'm absolutely heartbroken. I have not been able to read stuff like Seasons Have Teeth yet. So.
Oh man, that sucks. Manny, did you read Swan Songs?
I absolutely read Swan Songs. It's so damn good, you guys. I mean, it's what we come to expect, right? We know what Martin Simmons is going to do, but I shouldn't say that, because one thing you never know about what Martin Simmons do is what Martin Simmons is going to do, because he has a style that looks like this. Palette knives, layers. It's stylized in the best ways possible. But yet he also, like you said, has stuff like Friendo, which is very LA 80s pop art. You know what I mean? It's such
plastic.
A different thing. Yeah.
It feels plastic. Yeah.
It feels artificial. There's something really cool about artistic chameleons, which we'll talk about when we get to my pick with the artist that did that book. There's something really cool and satisfying about that. What I love about Prince's writing in this is I think this is what Nick was touching on too. There's something very new think about it, because we're looking at the end of the world, but we're also looking at reasons why the world is burning. Like there's these guys that they don't know how to feel emotionally. They don't know how to feel. They've forgotten how to be human to the point where they have to manipulate other people and witness emotions rather than genuinely feel them. We see an entire subway full of people that are addicted to drugs and are chasing other ways to artificially feel. The world ends because we've lost our humanity every other way. So I love that is explored in the pages of this book. It's so well done.
It's a very Philip K. Dick kind of idea, a little bit there, especially with the empathy, right? Where like if you read like the original Blade Runner, which is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and the empathy machine, and how you have to see it through somebody else's perspective and this and that, and man, what a great book. And and W. Maxwell Prince, like you said, Chris, yeah, he can be a sad writer, right? But not really. I find like an Ice Cream Man as sad, as hopeless, as despairing as it can be at times, it is still a book about what makes life worth living, right?
Well,
and I get it in Swan songs.
As Dolly Parton says, to deal with the, to get the sunshine, you got to deal with a little sunshine and rainbow. You got to deal with a little rain. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to have a Jolene in your life. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. And one more thing. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, I was kind of wanting to see some of that art again, Manny, if you can put it back up. Because I was just kind of wondering, like, what kind of medium he's working in. If that's because on one hand it looks like, is it digitally? Because on one hand it looks like
there's spatter and everything crazy going on too.
Yeah, but you can do that all with digital.
Oh yeah.
The way to use it though, right? So like even like with a Jorge Jimenez or somebody like that, even if it's digital, you can still do it in the right way. I think it's digital with his speed, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
There's a kineticism in it. I don't know if that's a word, but it's a word I'm going to use. Because like when you watch Daniel Warren Johnson draw, you see every stroke, and that adds to the action and the feel. With Simmons, you can see the dark line work, the sketchiness, but he never erases it. He just adds to it. He's layering on top of it. So you're seeing the imperfections, but it's constantly being layered by more style. And I think that's really cool, because you're witnessing the entire creative process from start to finish in every panel, in every piece. It's not trying to feel polished or anything.
I want to say it's digital just because some of these techniques look, I mean, maybe it's not. It's
almost like watercolory finger painting. Like, look at that last explosion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was seeing with the watercolor.
It's very good.
And I was trying to figure out if it was maybe mixed media, like watercolor in some areas and maybe some oils or acrylics in other panels. But like,
we're gonna have to find out. And I am noticing too that the letterer is good old neon, the letterer of Ice Cream Man. And by the way, Marvel, if you're listening and you want to throw a really nice paycheck towards Martin Simmons and get him to do anything, Doctor Strange. That's what we need. Doctor Strange. That would be cool. Yeah. All right, Chris, your pick of the month was Swan songs, but what's your next pick of the month? What you got?
So my next pick of the month would have been I'm going Traveling to Mars, issue number 7. Ablaze Comics, Mark Russell on writing. You got art by Roberto Melli. This book, another book that you could dub as sad. Some people have said, man, that's a sad book. It's hard to read. It's hard to get through. Again, it's one of those books. It really explores the complexities of life, right, and humanity. If you would have told me at the beginning of the series and said, hey, this book is going to be about this guy that takes this trip to Mars, and it's going to take more than 7 issues to actually get to Mars. You're going to actually you're going to go in depth into his life and take this introspective look at all these years of his life. And I don't know, I might have been like, wow, that sounds a little slow, but then when you read it, I'm like, I don't want him to get to Mars now, because I'm having such a great time going through his life. And at the beginning of the series, in issue number 1, it presents him as this character. I believe his name's Roy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That when you're presented with this character, you think he's kind of like a loser. You think he's kind of like he's almost presented as that scumbag character from the Rick Remender Scumbag book at the very beginning. Kind of burned out, no reason to live. And then as you go through the series, and just to kind of lay some background for anybody that's listening that might not know this, he's diagnosed with a terminal disease. The world is in shambles, kind of like the Swan Song book. Like, the world is going to end. We're running out of resources on Earth, and he's diagnosed with this terminal illness. So they're sending him to Mars to lay claim for a meat company. So, and the meat company, of course, is representing the United States. And there's a race to Mars because we need resources. We need to find a place that we can inhabit because we have destroyed the Earth. And that is also a kind of the backdrop of the story, and we're getting pieces of that. But the story is focused on the character, again, going through his life. It's a celebration of the things that he did well and the failures. And dude, it's so good. I think so. Obviously, it was nominated for an Eisner Award. Dude, to me, when I saw that got nominated for an Eisner, I was like, yes, dude. Like, I don't think enough people are reading this comic, and I've talked about it quite a bit on my top 3 every single time it comes out. But I'm telling you guys, y'all got to pick this up. I think, again, if you are a fan of Ice Cream Man and Swan Songs, books like this, I think you're going to get a lot out of this. And I love this comic. I love it.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of this book, and I cover it too, but I didn't cover it this week because fucking Diamond. So I didn't get my traveling to Mars, and you can blame Diamond for that. But I know Nick's big on Mark Russell in this book. So what do you think,
dude? I'm so glad you picked this book. So I think I picked this book every single time we talked about it. Pretty much. We're going on 7 months strong of this book being brought up. So that has to tell you guys something. This book is absolutely amazing, and like Swan Songs. In fact, I'm looking at what I'm going to pick, and I might need to get off the heaviness train a little bit, but like Swan Songs, Mark Russell has this amazing ability to just kind of like take raw human emotion and put it into like this poetic terms. And it's just, everybody can relate to it. Anybody can connect to it. It's just so brilliantly done. The situation that this character is in is so crazy and off the wall. It's like, how does this premise even work? But it totally does. It completely does. And I just love learning a little bit more about this guy's life, the lessons he's learned because of his experiences, and then how it relates to the current situation that he's in. Dude, I think there's 2 issues? Is it 10 issues or is it 9? I don't even know.
I think it's 10. I think it's 10.
I'm going to be super sad when this book leaves.
I am too.
I absolutely love it. It's a book that you can almost predict the ending too. It's like, how else could it possibly end? But I'm loving the ride. It's like watching Titanic or something, but I'm loving the ride so far. Awesome pick.
We got Bueller in the chat saying that I never invite him anymore.
Bueller,
you still read comics? I just thought you like hung out in parks and took pictures of plateaus and lakes and shit like that. But okay,
oases and rivers and springs
I'll
and hot springs.
I'll send you the link right now, Bueller. You can come in and wreck the stream if you want.
I mean, the background on his video, like for the covers, it was just lovely.
Yeah. John, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, dear Jose or Jorge Jimenez, I get that Nemesis is cool, and with Night Terrors you have a spot off, but please come back to Batman. I do believe that is the
amen.
I believe that is the intention, and his name is Hellboy. So
wait, are you gonna do Hellboy now?
No, we're not. StreamYard has a weird delay, so he says I never read the books when we did do the video. Nothing has changed.
That's true.
We could use a new Greg. We really could.
I thought I was the new Greg.
Harry's the new Greg, right?
I'm the new Greg. Bueller just gets to be Bueller. Okay.
Yeah. He just gets to come on and be like, no, I didn't read it.
Really?
Nah. I just talk about what's coming up next month. Anyway, Carrie, are you reading this one?
Carrie,
Keeping with the theme? No, I
Carrie.
didn't read this.
How many months do we have to talk about this, Carrie?
You know, guys, I try to pick them up when I can. I think this is probably going to have to be a trade read for me.
For sure. For
Mhm.
sure.
It'll read good that way. What about you, Manny? You reading this one?
Oh yeah, and it didn't come into my shops either, but that's why God invented Kindle. So he was able to read it. This one, at first I thought I got like screwed because like I flipped the first pages in like ancient Rome. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But it does tie in thematically. I feel like this is the most the largest glimpse into the future world we've had with traveling to Mars, like the current state of the world. Because normally everything that Roy's been telling us could take place anywhere. The stories themselves are timeless. But this one is like you're seeing CNN reports and all those other things. And it's still doing what traveling to Mars does. It's just giving us a very personal story, but I do feel like the world is expanding, and it was kind of a cool moment. It's kind of like driving through the Badlands and you're seeing how cool everything is on the sides, but this one I got to walk up to the edge, and when I saw how big and expansive it was like, this is pretty exciting. I don't know, I really like this, and I'm glad that it's continuing, because it really could have ended in 6 and that still would have been a really good ending for the story. So I'm glad it's continuing.
I thought it did end at a certain point. At a certain point, I was like, well, this is the end. This is really good. This is a really good story. And then it keeps going. And it's one of those stories where it's just a dude reflecting on his life for the most part, right?
That's it.
But it works. And by the way, the first issue, some of it takes place in Huntsville, Alabama, where I am stationed at. So if you ever meet me, I'll sign your copy of Traveling to Mars #1. You can pretend that one of those people at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center is me. Sure, we can do that. All right, Nick.
Wait, do you have a fish on a mantle somewhere? Like
no, we don't. But we do have like one of the first space monkeys is buried here. I think it's Abel.
Wow,
maybe I think it's Baker actually.
That's close. Yeah.
One of them is. I don't know. I don't even remember their names. I'm a bad Huntsville. And anyway, Nick.
Yeah.
2 great books talked about alrety.
Let's ruin the streak. Ready?
Okay. Night Terrors, Angel
Night Terrors.
Yes.
Catwoman, Night Terrors. Now, let's see here. So I'm going to change the mood. I'm going to change the setting just a little bit here. This is a book that I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much as I did. So how about that's just the setup right there. We're going to talk about, and I'm wearing the shirt, TMNT Out of Time. I don't know if y'all picked this one up, but I absolutely loved this book. This was a really cool pick. This one is kind of like the opposite. First off, it's written by Michael Walsh, so we get a little bit of that and get some artwork as well. But this one's kind of like, if you've been reading Last Ronin, it's almost like another retelling of that story right there, because we have a different turtle in a different future landscape who actually comes back into the present day, and he's a beat up, rough turtle, and it's actually Raphael, who's this turtle who's kind of fallen in this wormhole of time, and he's visiting his brothers. He knows all the secrets. He's infiltrating the sewers, and they kind of catch him. He's been sent back in time because he's trying to prevent this apocalypse from happening. And not to get in too many spoilers, but one of the turtles is responsible for this apocalypse. So he's actually going back in time, Terminator style, to kind of stop this from happening.
Well, that's got to be Donatello.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the
we could all figure that out.
No, it was Michelangelo. He ate too much pizza. Yeah. So there's a cheese shortage. So, but I just love the charm and the interaction between the characters in here, the different turtles, because it was just awesome. Because they think it's like, hey, it's one of our brothers from the future. This is great. But I like the perspective that he brings into the group again, because he actually talks about when they kind of learn he's out there to get Donatello in a way, they have this rumble and they start fighting and stuff. But this is like a veteran Raphael who's been there, done that, knows his brothers like no one else, and he can really take out the situation. And he has a little interaction between each turtle, and there's a lot of history and a lot of like back and forth dialogue between those characters. It was just handled very well. I loved the story. I like that it's almost a opposite of Last Ronin, because Last Ronin was good, but you know, this is just a different take on it. And it really surprised me. The art was really good. The story was awesome. I remember just finishing the book going like, damn, that was actually really good story. So this was kind of like a sleeper hit of the week. And I just wanted to showed some love to Out of Time Turtles. What a great
I didn't
book.
even realize that
Nice.
was. I was afraid that it was tied into everything else going on in Turtles.
No,
lately,
I was afraid
right?
of the same thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping up with Turtles for a while, and I feel ashamed because Kevin Easton's my homie because I did that one panel with him that one time
That one
last
time.
year,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be at Memphis. So me and Kevin,
Hell yeah.
me and Kevin are gonna hang out, I'm sure, and or Nick can be there when Kevin doesn't recognize me, and that'll be okay too. I'll be really hurt. I hope he at least pretends to recognize me like most comic book
He's
creators
a nice
do.
guy. Yeah.
Nah, he's a super nice dude. Him and his
For sure.
wife are absolutely dolls, and they're super awesome. They really, really are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool that you say that's what it is, because now I'm gonna grab it and read it. Anybody else read this TMNT annual? I don't know if anybody else on the panel is following TMNT.
No, I mean every other crossover right now, but except that the main line and this one that came out.
Check
Yeah.
out this one.
Oh yeah, I am
Really
reading the
worth it.
Street Fighter, the Stranger
Yeah.
Things, like Turtles
Stranger-
versus
yeah.
everybody now.
Yeah,
That's what's going
exactly.
on, right?
I feel like this is one of those moments where I wish that I could just tag team with Joe, because he's actually read this. He's reading like some of the crossovers too, like the Usagi one. He's reading the last Ronin Lost Years,
Lost
right?
Days,
Yes.
Lost Years. Yeah.
And he read this one, so it's like I wish there was if he was here, I'd like tag team me, like you're in, come talk about this.
One cool thing about the Turtles books right now, the IDW one, the main one in particular, is that we have never had a Turtles story continuously go this long, right? They're on an impressive issue number list for 2023, because most comics don't make it to 12, 13, 18. They definitely don't make it to 140 something.
140.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's
Yeah.
cool that they're able to build this, and every single one of them's got a Kevin Eastman cover. Come on,
Yeah,
we're
dude's putting in
spoiled.
work.
The art
spoiled.
inside of it is fucking.
Dude, it's nuts. It's really cool.
It really is really cool.
It's
stuff
nice.
going on.
I'm telling you, there's a lot
Oh,
to
that's nice.
it, and I love it. It was so good.
Why is it? I was looking through my list of books and I was like, why is it called Annual? If it wasn't called Annual, I would have picked it up.
You know, that confused me too, because it does say that it's the annual Out of Time, and I haven't been reading it. Taki's in the chat. Taki, tell me I think you've been reading the regular Turtle stuff, but like, how does this tie in? And then is this a standalone? Is this a separate alternate universe? I don't know, but all I know is it was a great book, man. And thank you,
Yeah,
Bueller, for agreeing with me.
Matthew, I think it's
Annuals
just
are-
you. I'm sorry. I hate that that's the problem. But
Hey!
Bueller, by the way, we got Bueller in the
Yeah,
chat.
that's with you, bud.
Bueller in the chat proving that he can hang even not reading comics. Bueller, I sent you the link on IG, man. You're more than welcome to join us, and you can do all of this in Amazing.
No.
What the heck is this Matthew guy talking about? Like, what?
Well, some people may have that experience, you know, and I don't know. Poor Matthew. Now he's like, it's me.
Yeah.
It's not.
Where the mods at?
Matthew,
I'm
you're the
wearing
shit.
lipstick,
You go out
aren't
there
I?
and you have confidence, man. You're fine. Don't worry about it. All right, Carrie, what's your pick of the month? Is it Night Terrors, Harley Quinn? I'm curious.
It's not.
Because that was
Aw.
a good one. I'm just
It
gonna
was
say.
very good. It was very good, but I think there is one right here. There is a Night Terrors book that I'm about to talk about, but I think it edges out Harley Quinn completely. One thing I did like about Harley Quinn, though, is that it seemed like Teenie Howard was finally writing Harley Quinn in a way that she didn't seem like an idiot. So there's a plus there. But I'm going to talk about Detective Comics. Since I don't have my other Dan Waters, thank you, Diamond. We're going to talk about Detective Comics, Night Terrors, because in the Dan Waters way, he gets profound here, and it's one of those things where it's like you can notice it, or you can totally read the story, not notice it, and still be entertained. But I really love the whole idea of where Gordon. So basically, Gordon. It's centered around Gordon. All right. So Gordon walks into this area where there's these weirdos that are like trying to prey to these monsters, and they're each asking for something because they're the good men of Gotham. And it turns out that these monsters consider Gordon one of the good men of Gotham. Well, what happens is in the beginning of the story, you have Gordon visiting his son's grave. And while he's like leaving that, Barbara sends him a text message. And he's like, he's thinking about that. He's talking about that. And, it's a narration where he says that he wishes he could just fall apart, but he can't. So then he ends up in this area where these, he's considered one of the good men of Gotham because he's a good man. And all of a sudden he starts cracking and falling apart, literally.
Like literally falling apart.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. And they're like, well, isn't this what you wanted?
Yeah.
Wow. So cool. I love it. It's a good story. It's entertaining for people that are like not into the profound, but also you can find the profound in it as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to address Night Terrors real quick. I consider Josh Williamson a friend of the show, a homie, right? He screamed out to me when I was walking by his booth at MegaCon next to Bueller, and he didn't holler at Bueller. He hollered at me. Bueller got really upset about that, but we're not going to bring that up on stream live in front of everybody else, and that's okay,
No.
Bueller.
Yeah, that'd be cheap.
That would be cheap. That would be a cheap blow, and we don't do that here at PCP.
No, we're respectable.
But we're also authentic, so I had to let you know what really happened there. Where was I going with this? Night Terrors, the main series by Josh Williamson. It's Nightmare on Elm Street in the DC universe, basically, right? Everybody falls asleep. This dude's looking for the Nightmare Stone. He's going through everybody's dreams, nightmares, actually, because it's hidden there somewhere, right? Night Terrors, the main thread is really cool, and the art has been horrific. And a lot of the art in the tie-ins, they've gotten the memo that this is a nightmare. This is a horror comic.
Now, let's say horrific in a good way.
Yeah, well,
Because
exactly.
Somebody could use the term horrific, and it means something completely different.
Well, they get the memo.
Cool covers,
horrible.
They get the job. This is supposed to be a horror comic, right?
Yeah.
Not all of them do.
Yeah,
Riccardo Federici does in Night Terrors Detective. And I will definitely say that this has been my favorite tie-in so far. I may even say it's better than what Josh and the rest, like Casper and Howard and them, are doing on the main title.
I mean, I like the main title. Don't get me wrong. The main title is pretty awesome. There's other stuff that I've been liking from it. Some of it more than others.
Exactly, right? But that's how it's going to go in these kind of big line-wide crossovers, this and that. But this is a great exploration on the character of Jim Gordon in particular. The artwork gets the memo. It's horrific. Some of the best work I've seen from him. It's written by Dan Waters. This book works on its own. You don't even have to have read any of the main whatever. I don't believe you. Yeah, send me the picture. Manny, did you read this one?
Oh, hell yeah. This is really cool. I love that it's Jim Gordon centric, because like part of when Rom first took over Detective, that was the backup story, was the Jim Gordon story leading up to that, and I felt like this was a cool touchstone back to that. You know what I mean? So I really enjoyed that. The artwork in this was phenomenal. This is my favorite incarnation lately of Jim Gordon. He's got that he's got that 90s sitcom dad energy. You know what I mean? The way he's drawn, the way he looks. There's something comforting about it, which makes it more of a gut punch when he's like collapsed on the floor. You know, he's like, sorrow. And, you know, like there's something like, I don't want to see the dad from Growing Pains or Mike Brady fucking, you know, is terrified, reaching out in pain. It hits different. This was really, really well done. I really liked this story.
What's really interesting is that Mike Brady, the guy that plays Mike Brady, and the guy that was the dad in Full House are actually dead. So
yeah,
you know. R.I.P.
Well, thanks a lot, Carrie. So, Chris, why don't you bring us back up and tell us what you thought about this book?
Just very briefly, dude, just Night Terrors in general. I've said this like several times. I think it's just worth reiterating because I've put a few polls out on Twitter just to kind of gauge where people are at with Night Terrors. And you'd be surprised at how many people are not reading Night Terrors. And I totally get it. When that first, checklist came out, I remember seeing it and being like, "Holy crap, dude! I'm not buying. Like, there's no way I'm doing this. Like, I was just gonna buy the main series, just I don't know, 5 issues, whatever it is."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, one of the main things, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but
Yeah.
one of the main problems with an event like this is that in a world in which people are struggling financially, the
Yes.
economy's not necessarily the greatest, and we're tired of events already, and there's so many comic book options every single week.
Mhm.
When
Yep.
DC makes a statement like, we're doing
Yes.
this, people think future state, convergence. Okay, thank you, DC. I can skip 2
Mhm.
months. That's
Yeah.
what they think immediately. And it's terrible.
Exactly.
It kills momentum on books that are just getting started, like Titans, for instance.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was it. Those were I talked about this before it started. I said, I'm going to get the main issues because I just want to know what's going on in the DCU, and I need to know what's happening. And then we read that first issue, and I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, and I go into everything with an open mind, regardless of the checklist and regardless of, I'm tired of events. And the Green Lantern from Jeremy Adams that just started, I loved that one's picking up momentum. I'm like, I'm loving this take with the Green Lantern,
Mhm.
Jeremy Adams. And then boom, oh, here we go. We're having a big break so we can do this Night Terrors thing. And then the more that I read of the event, and then the more I read of the tie-ins, I'm like, this is the model that the big two should always follow. They should make the books go on hiatus, and then the tie-ins and then everything is just in continuity. Like
Mhm.
the tie-ins for
I totally agree.
right. I mean, and that's not something I really was thinking until reading this. I'm like, they did it so well because they even make references in different books from those characters' ongoing series. I keep referring back to Green Lantern, that Green Lantern issue, the tie-in for Night Terrors. Dude, is it Guy? No, is it? It's not Guy.
Hal.
Hal is. And keep in mind, I am not a big Green Lantern fan, and Jeremy Adams is pulling me in. So you find Hal in issue 2, he's on a plane at the end of that issue. And then on the tie-in for Night Terrors, they continue that while he's on the plane. Just little tidbits like that, little details and attention to that continuity. It just makes such a satisfying event, and it's a big complaint from many people from the big two, right? Like, you got this event going on, and then you've got this main title, and this is happening with Spider-Man and Carnage and Venom.
Yes.
And then like the other books, you see Carnage, you see Venom in that book, and you're like, wait, isn't he involved in an event right now?
Yeah.
It's just so weird. And this is the way you should do an event. And I'm loving Night Terrors, and it totally changed my mind and my opinion from what it was going into the series. The Detective Comics that came out yesterday blew my mind. I loved it, and I loved specifically the art that you were mentioning with the where he's falling apart. I have a real thing with body horror. Like, it just creeps me out, but in the best way. Like I want more of it, but it does give me like goosebumps.
It's
and
like smelling the stinky cloth,
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That definitely stinks, but I want to smell it again. Yes.
Like, exactly. I for whatever reason, you just keep getting drawn to it. The art in this book, I don't have it with me, but there's like those parts where his hand is kind of like, it looks rocky, and it just starts pieces start falling off his hand, right? And I'm just like, it gives me like little goosebumps, but I'm like, I want more. And then Dan Waters, man, what he's doing with that book, what he did with that book, yeah, I love it. I'm such a fan right now. And give me Jim Gordon stories all day, man. Like, I love that.
Yeah, and give me Dan Waters stories all day.
Yes.
As long as the Jim Gordon story makes sense, and
True.
And it ends appropriately. Yeah.
Like
Unlike Joker,
Like
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Hey, what's better than 8 issues? 16 or whatever.
Maybe you should have just done 8, James.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
maybe you should have just done 8. I get that you just won an Eisner, and that's great, but like, come on, man. Anyway, one more thing is, I will say this as a retailer, as a fan, somebody who's been reading comics over 35 years at this point. This would have sold better if you just would have had Detective Comics 1000 and whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people do dip out. Now, I know how frustrating it is when you're reading a book. Let's say, oh man, I'm a Titans fan. Titans is finally here. Oh, 1, I love it. 2, I love it. Green Lantern. Oh, 1, 2. Then you're like, what is this? But I love at least the way, like with what Jeremy did in Green Lantern, is it like went right into itself, right? And I know it's frustrating, but what's more frustrating than having your title interrupted by having to force a tie-in in there, but which is thematically still kind of connected to the main thread of the series, is having your title go on hiatus for 2 months to have DC just be like, here's a bunch of number 1s and number 2s, and then we're going back to normal. That gives people the opportunity to jump off. Every time you take your issue back to a new number 1, it will boost your sales. But in the ultimate run, if you look at everything, it will straight up, you will lose readership every time you reboot to a number 1, even if it's just for 2 months. It's just a fact. I can't understand why. I can understand it, but DC and Marvel can't at all. But Nick, aside from complaining about the comic book industry, did you read this book?
No, I didn't read this one yet, but I will.
It's really good.
There you go.
Like it really, really is. What was the backup story in this one? There wasn't one. It was just the one story was that long, right?
Yeah.
It's just one story. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a $4.99 book, right? So there are extra pages in it, like Detective usually is. And man, it's really, really solid.
They use those pages though. Like
they do.
Nice.
They do. Mm-hmm.
All right, Manny.
Boom. So I was gonna go with my DC pick for the month, but I'm gonna go with my my Marvel one since we just had a DC, and let's go with Incredible Hulk issue number 2, because after all the shit I talk about Chip Zdarsky, I'm not going to talk about Daredevil 13, which probably should be my pick. But this was really good. I like this. I like the horrific aspects of this new run of the Incredible Hulk, and it's like I think Robbie said it too during his review. It's like religious horror stuff, and that I'm a mark. I'm an easy mark for that.
I think I said Southern fried religious horror.
Southern fried religious
very
horror.
specific.
I'll take any of it. I'll even take that pompous northeastern fucking religious horror. I don't care.
Oh, like the witch.
Those
like
Yankee
really,
sons of bitches. No, we're good.
Like the witch, or the really pretentious people that like to call it the Vivitch.
Yeah. The A20. Anyway,
I
so
hate
we're so this was good. It's just continuing on with. I love this relationship between Banner and the Hulk in this, because Banner, in my mind canon, is a stand-in for Marvel, and the Hulk's just pissed off about being a spaceship for the last fucking year. So like he's like, cut my head off. I'm gonna watch him, stab you or cut your head off, whatever the hell they were gonna do at that altar. Like I freaking love it. I like that the Hulk is pissed off. I like that he's angry. I think that we've been in a situation now where we've had the most charming, funny Hulk ever doing yoga, having a bar in Mexico, right? We need a Hulk that's scary again. We need a Hulk that's good again. Just like we needed a Secret Invasion show that should have been good as well. Like all these things Marvel needs to do, and they're in a rebuilding phase. I like the artwork. I like that it's not straying away from the horrific, but it still feels very mainline Marvel. I think Ghost Rider has this issue where it's trying to stay mainline Marvel, but it adds these horror elements that cause this real tonal whiplash and dissonance that makes the book not work on the same level, where this one has enough horror, it has enough body horror, and it still works in an all ages appropriate way. So I don't know, I'm really dug in. It past tense as well. I liked last month.
I'm dug in it also,
but I really like this one.
Did Manny just say he was Jerry Duggan?
You're
actually Jerry Duggan?
I don't know who that is, but yes.
He writes X-Men.
Oh, well, who the fuck knows? No one's going to know that reference anyway.
I know.
I should have just been like, yes.
I was going to say, because I got a homie who's really pissed about the Hellfire Gala. So anyway.
I'm really pissed about everything about a year and a half ago that I've been reading from X-Men. So we're all good.
I love The Incredible Hulk, right? Before we went live, we were talking about how everybody thinks I hate Marvel. But I was like, no, Marvel's actually got some pretty solid books. There's a small, slow turnaround happening at Marvel right now. And I really think they're setting themselves up for a really good 2024 because there's some really good decisions being made. One of those decisions is to keep Nick Klein around. It has been amazing to me to see the journey of his work. I first noticed it in Deadpool. right? And when I notice an artist on Deadpool, I'm like, bruh, there hasn't been an artist who made me like notice them because of Deadpool since Rob Liefeld. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, that's a big deal. But then he goes into Thor, that really what could have been Thor run with Donny Cates, right? And then he gets moved to Hulk, which is rebooting from that, you know, what could have been Donny Cates run. His artwork is continuing to improve. This is the best art I have ever seen from Nick Klein is in the pages of Incredible Hulk right now. And I know it's just 2 issues in, but visually I can see that. Story-wise, writing-wise, it's a little bit difficult to determine this, but I am very close to saying this might be Philip Kennedy Johnson's best work too. His understanding of that Southern fried horror kind of vibe, his understanding of just horror in general, how it should come across paired with Nick Klein. This is a must-read book. And I've heard people say, well, Robbie, they've done Hulk as horror before. Bruce Jones. Yeah, that was great. That was like 20 years ago. Well, they just did it with Immortal Hulk. Well, that was good for like 20 issues. So like, let's not deceive ourselves and think Immortal Hulk was great all the way through, because it wasn't, right? And Joe Bennett had a lot to do with that, with the body horror aspect and some good ideas, but I just didn't like quite the execution. I'm excited to see what happens in the pages of Hulk. Chris, I know this is a Marvel book, but are you reading it?
I am. I am a huge Philip Kennedy Johnson fan, mostly because of what he did with Action Comics and turning that series around, and how he's becoming that creator where, hey, let's go ahead and call in Philip Kennedy Johnson. I don't know if you guys are reading the 007 that he's doing over at Dynamite. Freaking amazing, dude. Like, I would never think that I would be a second volume into a 007 comic book, and I'm enjoying it.
Real quick. By the way, if you want to check out all those issues, go to dynamicforces.com, enter code Robbie, you'll save 10%.
There you go.
I just had to be Robbie Shields for a second. Sorry.
Perfect. I mean, move. I had the notes here that you told me to say that. So, all right. So, isn't it, to me, it's incredible what a change of creative team can do to a comic book. Donny Cates, man, bless his heart. I know he's gone through a lot of stuff as of late, right? But let's not sugarcoat it. That run sucked, dude. Like, I tried, man. I really tried, and I great. Yeah, he's a great writer. Whatever reason, I think I don't know what he was doing. He stretched himself too far. Whatever the case is. And the Hulk, I think it just collapsed. It failed, obviously. And then you get new blood in there, and you get Philip Kennedy Johnson, who, you know, up to now really hasn't shown that he could write a horror comic. I mean, not to my knowledge that I've ever read anything of him. But then he comes in here and he does it, and he recaptures that feeling that we got from the previous run. So it's just incredible to me. Like, I'm like, he's taking Hulk back to his horror roots. You've got that man and monster conflict inside, and more times than not, you know, Bruce is trying to keep that monster held within, right? But there's sometimes when he has to unleash him, which is the situation in this comic book. And I love that struggle. I love the whole Southern church vibe with them singing in the background and the lyrics as you're reading the lyric. It just all worked together for me. And you guys have said a lot about this, but I loved it. I love it. I'm a big fan of it.
And then to go back to that first issue, one of the most brutal, horrific transformations I've ever seen of Banner to the Hulk, right? Like, it just is so gnarly. Like, I absolutely love it.
The teeth thing, man. Ooh, the teeth thing.
Dude. Teeth are some of the most fucked up things, because everybody knows what it's like when your tooth hurts.
Yeah.
Imagine if you have a whole new set of Hulk teeth coming out of your teeth. Like, it's just like, come on. It's like some of the most gnarly werewolf transformations of the 80s, right? Like, you kind of get that vibe to it. Philip Kennedy Johnson was paired with the wrong artist on his Alien book, but I could see there that he understood like horror. And then when, like, with Mike Perkins doing some of his Action Comics, there's some very horrific things going on there. Speaking of which, his Night Terrors issue was actually really good. Like, his segment in that Action Comics Night Terrors was
the little piece.
Yeah.
You had to get through that first, you know.
You had to get through the Power Girl story.
Yeah.
I know.
but yes, I was already like, oh shoot, here.
Nick, you reading this one?
Yeah, I am. What I'm noticing on the flip through here is Nick Klein is only credited for a few of the pages, and there's a whole different art shift in like the first part of it, but I don't see any credits for that unless I'm just completely blind. But anyways, yeah, I mean,
that's interesting.
yeah,
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's really strange. It looks like it starts with Nick Klein and then it shifts to somebody else for like 4 pages, and then it goes back to Nick Klein, but he's not credited, and this other person's
that
not
might be
either.
the bits that are like watercolor-esque or something
Exactly.
like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just weird. Just something I noticed. Echoing everything you guys said, it's awesome. I particularly love the Southern Church part of it as well. It's really cool. There's the really cool transformation scene at the very end of this one. We talked about gnarly transformations. It's awesome. I love the fact that Hulk doesn't want to come out and he's waiting. He wants Banner to die in this one scene, and it's just like a cool moment of like horror inside of Banner's face. And I love that like bottom panel that they show, where you can see the Hulk's reflection in the blade itself. And then the transformation that comes out. It's awesome, dude. I love Nick Klein's art. Really, really cool pick. I like that one.
Yeah. Carrie, you reading this one?
I did it. Okay, so you guys talked about it last month, and it's been talked about in my household that I had to read this. And I hadn't even read it until last night. It was literally like, you must read this, pushed onto me. And I'm glad it was. I really do like the whole body horror thing. I like that. And I think that if you're going to have something like that, then it should be something monster-like with the Hulk. And I really like the whole like Deliverance type of feel there with that church and the zombies, and I let's talk about the girl though.
Yes.
The girl who wants to meet the Hulk, wants the Hulk to come out, because her father scares her, because her father treats her horribly. She wants to be an actual monster because she feels like she is one, because she's disfigured. I'm really liking that character. And I really hope she doesn't get killed by the Hulk.
I doubt it, right? Like, Marvel's not going to let us actually see the Hulk kill anybody. But you're right. That character is actually a very solid part of why I enjoyed issue number 2 so much. Right. And there was that moment where Banner's like, you don't understand true horror. Go back home. She's like, you don't understand my home.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's good stuff.
She's not afraid of she's already faced so much in her life. Like she's not afraid of the Hulk. That's kind of a crazy thing for a young girl to say, right? And it's like, yeah, that's a whole part of the book that we kind of missed there, but I'm glad you brought it up, Carrie. Yeah.
Yeah. Being someone that used to be a young woman, I'm in my 40s now. I definitely can understand where, she's coming from. There's the way that girls interpret things and the way they look at things. They want to have that strength, not only of character or mentally, but the strength to be like the Hulk, so they can brush off everything like it doesn't matter. And in some cases violently if they're being attacked.
Fuck yeah. Carrie, thank you so much for that perspective. I really do appreciate that.
Okay, I want to make one quick point of order, Robbie. You said that PKJ's Alien run was hamstrung by the artist. And I would say that the fact that Salvador LaRocca drew himself as the main character but as a fucking bobblehead version is probably some of the most horrific body horror I saw in comics last year. Just saying.
Wow.
I've never seen Sal on it. Like what I didn't notice. I didn't pick up on that. But that's hilarious. You mentioned that in one of your videos, didn't you?
Everything
cow.
I use is my recycled bits
sure
from
did.
He's just recycling.
That's right. Never mind. I didn't know that.
He just
Okay.
feels that strongly.
I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. No, yeah.
He's just taking selfies. And it's just like, I don't. There's something that I've never really necessarily liked his work, but then there was a moment where I kind of got into the wonkiness of it. But that Alien run was atrocious to me. I was like, he is not the artist for a horror comic or a sci-fi horror comic at all. Martin Simmons doing an alien book, bruh. Could you imagine that? Like, I would be all over that.
Yeah.
But somebody at Marvel's making good decisions. Somebody, a lot of somebody still making some shit decisions, but they're on the uptick. All right, we're an hour in the show. We're on our second round. I would normally kick us off. However, Chris, I feel so bad for taking your number one pick that here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go take a whiz, and you're going to tell us what your next pick is, and then you're going to lead the show. You have the reins of pop culture philosophers, my man.
Let's do it.
There you go.
All right.
Let's do it. All right, guys. I am going with You've Been Canceled, issue number 2, Mad Cave Studios. We got.
Why you gotta pick one of my books, man?
I knew it. Yes.
Of my books. I'm just kidding.
Go take a whiz, Robbie. Go take. This is Kurt Pierre's on writing, Kevin Castanero on art. Man, this is such a fun comic book, and it's set in the future. The year is 2050. And the way I described it on my show, I said, this is basically cancel culture and streaming service have a bloody child, and it's called You've Been Canceled, right? And it's this streaming TV show that basically it airs the hunting and the killing of those that society deems canceled, right? It's basically if cancel culture was on steroids, and we went ahead and aired that for the world to see. Which, if we're being honest, that's a very plausible thing, and I think something that people would probably tune into right now in 2023. We don't even have to wait to 2050. But basically, if the outrage is high enough, your actions are found not suitable for the population, you might just find yourself on an episode of this show. You've been canceled. But the book is centered around the number one bounty hunter. He's the one that he's this grizzled. If I'm not mistaken, he's like an ex-Marine or ex-Army, something like that. But he's the number one bounty hunter, and we're following his journey. All these young guys want to take him out, but then things get reversed in issue number 2, right? And he becomes the hunted one, right? Somebody hacked into the system, and they made him. They canceled him, right? So everybody's coming after him. And so you got this John Wick scenario where everybody is converging on him. So following his journey is a lot of fun. The whole concept of the book is such a great premise. It's this irreverent humor. It does not one bit. It sounds kind of like, every time we talk about cancel culture and kind of start talking about issues of the world, it could be kind of this divisive thing, right? But this is not that. This is fun. It's kind of poking fun at not just how extreme cancel culture could be, but also the opposite end of that, right? So it's so much fun. I'm having a great time with it. It's violent, it's funny, it's witty. I think it's very timely, like I said, for the world that we're currently living in. I definitely don't want to find myself, on a episode of You've Been Canceled from something I did, 15 years ago. I've changed a lot, guys. I've changed a lot. So, but man, and credit to Kevin Castanero, who's not a name that we've heard very much. I know he's done some Mad Cave work with other books, but man, he does a great job creating it's like a very chaotic landscape as you're looking through the book. And I think it's perfect for this chasing scenes, and it's perfect. It's perfect. Futuristic. I really like this.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read that one, Nick?
I did. We talked about issue number 1 last month as well. And so you're right. I think the way I described it too is it's almost like a modern day Running Man. So it's like, you're getting all these bad guys and they're just being attacked by these like assassins and stuff. But this is like assassins taking out some bad guys, and that's perfectly fine. Like you said before, the script is kind of flipped, and now he's the target of everybody. What I love in this book though is it's almost manga-ish in a way. Just the drawing style, the quickness of it, the line work, the movement lines, things like that. Even some of the expressions and stuff. It's almost manga-ish if you look at it, and it's really effective. And I love the artwork. There's moments where it's highly detailed. It's almost like I'm not going to say like a Jeff Darrow in a way. There's some stuff in the backgrounds and stuff like that that just reminds me of that palette.
The
a little
artist
bit.
you're thinking of, Nick, is Morbius.
Did you do your
Morbius.
research?
Do you mean Mobius?
Mobius or Morbius? Mobius?
It's a callback to last month. You guys should go watch that on the rewind after you're done with this one.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, I love this book. It was really cool. There's so much humor in this one too. So like, there's some serious stuff in it, but like, it's just a fun, awesome, high-flying adventure book, dude. It's a good pick.
Like we've talked about so many like emotionally heavy books. Like for me, when I read a book like this, I call it a palate cleanser book for me. It's like it's just it makes you laugh. Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I loved it. Pace, the comedy, the wittiness, it's all there. I like it.
Yep, good one.
Chris, continue. You're doing this whole segment. You're doing this whole bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Manny, have you been reading this comic?
This book, okay, so no bullshit. I'm fairly prudish, right? So this book likes about 10 pages in to get me to have to close the book at the dinner table and put it away. So like, so I get to page 9. I'm like, God damn it again! Close the book.
Is that the orgy page?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what happened. All I know is I'm like, well, nope. Close that. Put it away. But up till that point, definitely a lot of manga inspired. I like the colorfulness of the world. Yep. I think as far as the manga thing is, I think the best way to describe it. Because like last time I was like, oh, it's super detailed, but like I don't know, you read Clobber in Time or you read like Jeff Darrow books or any of that stuff. It's like, well, no, there's a lot more detail. This book doesn't have that level of detail in the background. It's that, but there is something.
It's
vibrant
the speed.
about the
It's sometimes you get that glimpse of something. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely great way to describe it. The first 9 pages, totally cool.
Totally appropriate. Yeah. Carrie, are you reading it? Are you enjoying it? What are your thoughts?
I enjoyed the second issue better than the first. I was kind of like not really into the first issue, but I gave the second one a shot and I really enjoyed that. And actually I have 2 points. Okay. One, is it just me or does he kind of look like a young, if you ever watch Daria, the cartoon?
Oh yeah,
MTV.
Yeah. So does he look like a young Mr. DiMartino?
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I can see it.
It's the
Yeah. That's funny.
1.
Yeah.
2. This second issue, like paired with the first issue, kind of reminds me of a book I read like some time ago. It's a Jason Pargin book called Futuristic Suits, or excuse me, what is it called? Oh golly, it's the same guy that wrote John Dies at the End. Futuristic Violence in Fancy Suits. And they definitely have this whole like social media kind of taking over everything kind of thing. And it's really good. And it actually is making me think of that. And I really like that book series. So if you like You've Been Canceled, you might like the Zoe Ash book series.
If you want like a real hardcore version of this book, read Absolution. That just ended. It's like a 5-issue run from AWA. Yeah. Same premise, different vibe.
Very cool. Yep. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic, Robbie. I know I took your thunder there, man. But what are your thoughts on the book?
No, I'm glad you stole my thunder. I love this book. No, what's Kurt's last name?
Pierre's, and I know that because I had him on the show, and when he introduced himself, he said Kurt Pierre's, and I said, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I've been saying Kurt. I think I was saying Kurt Pyers, for a while."
This dude has never corrected me, man. So Kurt, hats off to you for that. But please correct me if I say your name wrong. Come on, y'all. Come on. We struggle every time we do this. We have no idea what the hell we're doing. Right?
He's from Canada. I think he's part French, so that makes sense.
Kurt Pierre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. I love what Kurt's doing in this book. I've been a fan of his since Olympia, I believe, was the first work that I noticed, right? He did Youth for Amazon, right? And Youth was absolutely amazing. He did a book that I liked, but I missed an issue because of Diamond. What was it called? It's Only Teenage Wasteland. But I've been keeping up with that, and I've been liking that. And I love Kurt's work. And what's the other one he's doing right now? He's doing it with a co-writer.
Indigo Children.
Indigo Children. Love that book.
Yes.
They have a new issue out this week.
Right,
So good. Yeah.
I love it. And I think the story is great. It's so much fun. It's wonky. It's going in directions I didn't expect. I love when we get the revelation of who was the person who hacked into the system to make him the most wanted man on this You've Been Canceled show.
Yeah.
I also love
I
that.
love it.
To me, I'm reading this the entire time. Like, this is Cable. This is Nathan Summers,
Sure.
like caught in this
Yeah.
world. Like I'm getting that vibe from it. I love the artwork. You're talking about the manga influence. It's totally there. That sense of energy and expressionistic type emoting that's there. I absolutely love it. And as I've said before, my favorite things about art, comic book art in particular, dynamic qualities and grit and texture. And that is all over the place. Like, I don't care how amateurish the artwork is, or I don't care if the storytelling doesn't work. But if you get a toothbrush, put some ink on it, and flick it on that page, I'm gonna love it more.
I'm on that Kickstarter all day.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love this book. Issue number 2
Mental
made the pick of the
note.
week, and
Yeah.
one of my favorite books of the month. Great pick, Chris.
That's a good one.
Awesome.
All right,
Well, I
Nick,
will hand it back over to you, man.
before we get to you, Nick, we're gonna get to me.
Let's do it.
And I'm going to talk about Tenement
Yes.
number 2
Nice.
right here. Mainly because Mr. Sorrentino tweeted me out again. He's actually a fan of the show. He watches. He sends me early looks of his books sometimes. I also get the image books a little bit early digitally so I can read them, but I never read Sorrentino's work digitally.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate it when he sends it to me. I appreciate it when Image sends it to me. I can't read a Sorrentino book digitally because the way that those PDFs from Image work is there's one page at a time. You can't do that because there are some amazing double page spreads. And even with a non-double page spread, this composition is very intentional. The way that this panel right here, it's heavy on this page, and on the next page it's this. But look at the emptiness here compared to here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
it's, like,
intentional.
swapped. Yeah.
Yeah, he like with Image, you don't have to worry about ads being in your book. So
Yeah.
you're able to actually know what page 1 is and what page 2 and 3 are going to be. Composition is what Sorrentino does.
Oh, wow.
Imagine reading this just one page at a time digitally. It sucks.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
This book is amazing to me. Anytime Jeff and Andrea get together, like this page does not work when you read it one page at a time, right? It just doesn't.
No, it wouldn't.
It is so freaking good what they do together every time. It became a joke here on the channel, but every time Gideon Falls had a new issue out, it was going to be the pick of the week. It's kind of almost like Ice Cream Man. It's just one of those things that just hits me so much. I love horror comics. Jeff Lemire makes sad dad, navel gazy type comics. I love those too, right? So you get that energy here. But what I'm talking about mostly is the characterizations from Jeff Lemire. He understands people, and he understands how people are the same, and he understands how we're different. So he's able to explore those differences, but also connect it to the same hope and despair that we go through, right? Just like W. Maxwell Prince, just like Mark Russell does. These writers have some kind of an end to the human experience, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then
Mhm.
Sorrentino, I dare you to show me an artist working in comics today that's more atmospheric, that's more compositionally aware than Andrea is, right? It is absolutely phenomenal what is done in the pages of this book. I also really applaud the fact that we have an anthology series basically going on, that you don't have to read every single book. Each book stands on its own, but when you read it all together, you start getting some revelations, especially in the pages of this. That page right there, y'all, blew my fucking mind. Because, like, sometimes I've been on shrooms and I look out my window and that's what it looks like, man. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the real world is. I get invisible vibes from this as far as the ideas of what's in the under reality, almost in a way. This book fucking slaps. It's amazing. This final week of the month was the best week, I think. Had the most bangers out of every week. It was a tough decision this week for pick of the week, but Tenement got it for me. I absolutely love that book. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think the beauty of this book, because I've had a lot of questions of, hey, like what is it actually about? Like what is the Bone Orchard mythos? Well, like what is it about, right? I still can't tell you, but but
we covered that last month.
yeah,
It's about holes.
Okay,
She's
there
got
you go.
big gaping
That's a good
holes, man.
That's a good
On
way
the
to put
floor
it.
and the wall.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but where this team shines is where they always shine, and it's the characterization, right? And these 7 residents of this tenement that have this connection, and you have like it's just enough mystery every single issue to like, oh shoot, like what's gonna happen next? What is this door with this mystery key that's been given to this kid? What is this door open? Where are we going to, right? And then, like you said, though, it connects with the other series that we've read here in the Bone Orchard mythos. Is it a red door? Is it a red barn? I don't know. I'm just kidding. But
It's a red hole.
Red hole. Right.
The red door is closed.
So yeah, I mean, it's so good, man. It's so good, and like you said, I think, of course, of these Bone Orchard mythos books, so far I'm having the best time with this one, because of that relationship aspect and the characterization. Yeah, I love it. I love this team. I'm a big fan. I'm ready for issue 3, man.
I don't remember off the dome, who the writers or the director was of the most recent Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise, but this is what y'all should have done. Like, if you have this whole idea of a small, dilapidated apartment building with very few tenants, right, that are all different, that there's some kind of evil rising in this place, build up these characters and their differences. Don't just focus on one family and completely ignore the other characters. That's why Evil Dead Rises failed for me, but why Tenement rises for me. Nick, you reading this Lemire Sorrentino classic?
I've read issue number 1. I have not read issue number 2 yet, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed issue number 1. It was probably one of my favorites of this universe so far, because it was a little bit more on the nose, I suppose. It wasn't so weird. And then, like we said, the characterization is what nailed it for issue number 1 for me. So I'm excited for issue number 2. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Just so you know, Nick, pro tip: if you haven't had a chance to read a new issue yet, just blame Diamond.
Hey,
I could certainly do that for a few of these books. This one was I just haven't gotten to it yet.
No kidding. One of the things I do love about their books is, like, I always save it for the end. Usually, if there's a Lemire Sorrentino book, I'm going to save it from the end, because I always, pro tip, the way I arrange my comic book stack is what I'm least looking forward to reading to what I'm most looking forward to reading.
Yes.
And their books always wind up at the bottom of the stack. And also, they're always very breezy reads. Jeff Lemire's a really good writer. And Sorrentino, when you go back to reread it, you can just linger on that imagery, and it just works so much.
For sure.
Carrie, you reading this one?
So you guys convinced me to read the first one last month, and I did, and I loved it. But freaking Diamond, I don't have.
There it is.
I don't have it.
It was a rough week.
Like, I don't have, and I had like a few image books too, like this one, like World Tree, Season
Firepower
13.
didn't come in for me. Yeah.
Per Evil, I was gonna read that one, and no, it's gotta wait until next week now.
Yep.
Sorry.
To break kayfabe real quick, because that means that this is not a lie. Like, a third of our books, we got all of our books from Diamond this week. A third of them were damaged.
Oh, they've been nasty for the past month.
This week was really bad.
Yes.
And I'm just like, no wonder. Like, I mean, like,
and it's the second week in a row for me.
Oh man. Well, there was the UPS strike, right? And so Penguin, Lunar delivers through FedEx. Penguin distributes through UPS. They've been intentionally doing all of their shipments super early and in anticipation for the UPS strike, which they worked out. So that's good. They're getting air conditioning in their trucks, which they need that.
Good for them, man.
And the fact that they didn't have it before, that's appalling.
It's ridiculous. We've had the same UPS driver for a while. His name is Tate. I love him. He's a Cowboys fan. He always comes in, and we're like, anytime you come in, grab a drink, bro. It's on the house, man. Like, don't even worry about it, because that's a tough job, especially with comic shops, because that dude's got to deliver like 40 boxes every day to
And
us.
in shorts.
Yeah, in brown shorts and a giant truck with no AC. They give them a little fan to put on the dashboard, y'all. It's ridiculous, man. Because there are no doors. It's like a mail truck. Mail trucks, I think, are the same thing. Same way, no AC. What a great book, though. What a fantastic freaking book. Manny, did you read it?
Absolutely. I'm going to start this animation, but I'm going to keep talking because I haven't sped this son of a bitch up yet. But anyway, and I missed half of Lemire's name, but I fucking love Jeff Lemire. Everything Jeff Lemire writes. Shout out comic. There we go. Shout out to the Comic Book Couples podcast. The episode where Lemire and Sorrentino are talking about their creative process is you have to watch it. Please watch that podcast. Subscribe on all your stuff and Geeks Unleashed too, since we're at it.
Nice.
But anyway,
real quick, Damien, I think it's September for us.
Yeah,
I think September when my ordering starts. So for you, that should be like October, November or something. But yeah,
but I like the premise of Tenement in a way that it's very familiar to us, right? I mean, with the people stuck in a insert blank together, strangers, right? Langoliers, Squid Game. I mean, shit that we've seen 100 times, and so it's easier to grapple onto. I think like 10,000 Black Feathers, you didn't know what you were getting right out of the gate. It's a missing person mystery. You don't know these characters. You don't know the premise yet, and I think that this one's way easier to latch onto.
Still don't know the premise.
No. Of 10,000 Black Feathers? It's about holes. Bro.
We're shy a hole in your life when your friend disappears.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Trying to figure out who you are. So the one person that should have accepted you for who you are, the one person that you've spent your entire life loving, rejects you and then vanishes from your life, Nick. Can we not talk about how fucking horrific that is? Why don't we
Manny,
take
you're on the money there,
and
man.
appreciate
you're on the money there, bro.
It's like it just clicked for me, man.
Getting a little like
Okay.
So basically it's like somebody's friend like totally just ghosted them.
Literally, I think in this case.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
really, really good. Y'all should be reading 10,000 Black Feathers. You can pick the trade up over at Robbie's the Deep website. I'm sure you could get that.
No, but you can message me and I can send it to you.
Absolutely, do that as well. All right. So this is a really, really well done story. I love that. And the reason I brought up the podcast, one, shameless plug because I'm loving the podcast, but also because it informs the way that you read these books. I think one of the reasons why it's so atmospheric and it works is because Sorrentino makes no like bones about the fact that if he doesn't like what Jeff Lemire sent him, he'll change it to whatever the hell he wants if it's in service of the story. And I love that Jeff Lemire has enough humility, being such a good writer and being able to articulate through comic book scripting the human experience, but he's the ego is so low that he understands in service of the story. Like he's able to inject human experience, but Sorrentino's injecting atmosphere and horror, and it just works in concert so well together. It's like two guys playing jazz and they're both in the zone. You know, I mean, it works so fucking well. So yeah, this is gorgeous. It's gorgeous to look at. I love the scene that you held up where we get that like landscape change where they're like, okay, we're going to the upside down now because Stranger Things is cool. And like everything, because you get that like weird RGB shift, you know, like old cathode ray TVs, and it works. You remember that you know that feeling of disorientation, and it just works really well. This is such a great book.
Yeah, it really is. Y'all need to read the Bone Orchard Mythos. Check him out. Check out hunt down that free comic book day issue. Get the Passageway graphic novel. Read 10,000 Black Feathers. Read Tenement. And even if you don't want to do the other stuff, just read Tenement. It works on its own. It really, really, really does. All right, Nick, what's the next book you want to highlight tonight?
All right, this is going to be a fun book. I hope this one is setting off a brand new universe that we never knew was even connected. We're going to talk about the Big Game, Mark Millar and Pepe Larraz. Big Game issue number 1. I like triple dipped on the covers on here because there were so many cool covers for this book, but this is really awesome. And so I have a little bit of experience with the characters in this universe in general. So I know about the Magic Order and the Ambassadors and good Lord, Nemesis and Kick-Ass and Hit Girl and Wanted. I have some history there too. But like this book did a pretty good job of introducing people into like what this landscape is, what the objective of this book actually is. A little history lesson here. So we have like the fraternity, which is like the place from the movie The Wanted. And basically the fraternity, what do? They ganged up and they took out all the heroes in one night or something like that. They teamed up and wiped out all the heroes. And it's actually become like a myth now that these heroes even existed. There's a whole generation that has grown up without them. And so they've kind of restored order as far as they're concerned, and they're keeping the status quo. Nemesis, which we just kind of rebooted in a way, just ended a little while ago. He's now joined that group and he's carrying that legacy forward because there's a little resurgence of heroes now in the world. Where we see those heroes is over in Ambassador, which is a cool run that just recently ended, where we have all these representatives from different continents and countries and whatnot, and they are sharing this power set pool, which is just a really cool concept in general. Very cool run. Check that one out. We have Nightclub, which are these kids that are just turning to vampires and they're learning the rules there, and they're about to start fighting some other vampires and stuff.
Which just had a really good finale this week.
Which I didn't get in the shop. It didn't get delivered, and it's killing
Diamond.
me.
Really good.
I know.
Diamond.
I know. It's jacking me up. So, but anyway, I don't think I've ever in my 5-6 years now of reading comics, I don't think that I've seen a universe be cultivated like this and then just slammed together. And so far I have no complaints of how it happened. There's so many moving pieces and they're all just kind of going right together perfectly.
Dude, the connection to Kick-Ass, the connection to the Prodigy, right? I can't wait for Huck to show up. Starlight's in here, right? Like really good stuff.
How did I not make the connection when they're in the ambassadors when they're like, well, we got to pick a American ambassador. Who's it going to be? I don't know. And that's kind of how they end it. And they cover that a little bit in this book. And I'm like, how did I not assume that, knowing that this universe is going to get mashed together? It's like, of course, right? So I applaud the creative team for finding out a way to take all these disparate stories, characters, universes, and smashing them together in a way that makes sense. And do I need to say anything about the art? I think we all know Pepe Larez and how amazing they are at
the reason why the X-Men book, one of the reasons why the X-Men books visually sucked over the last year is because he was working on this title, right? Exactly. But like, fine, I'm good with jumping over here and doing that because who the hell can follow all that? I know we had Mike Hawthorne on Batman because Mark Miller called Jorge Jimenez. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, I need you for a few issues. Turned into a bunch of stuff. Very, very cool. Number one, I can't wait to see this progress.
Well, if you know you're going to do a Mark Miller book, you know you got that Netflix money attached to it. So
sure,
yeah, I would do that too. Yeah. Like I Mark Miller says there was a turning point in his career. He was actually talking to Stan Lee. I think this is the best thing Stan Lee ever did. He told Mark Miller, "Make your own books." Yeah. This was Stan Lee telling someone from very much his experience, make your own books, because Stan Lee knew more than anybody, make your own books, because I've ripped off a lot of artists in my career, but we're not going to bash Stan Lee here, but no, I'm serious. That's a really good message that Stan Lee gave to Mark Miller that started him going, you know what? You're right. I don't need to be writing Ultimate X-Men and helping the Marvel Cinematic Universe launch with the Ultimates. I should just be doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And he's made a lot of money doing his own thing. And I just hope that everybody doing their own thing makes a lot of money and has a lot of success.
For sure.
Carrie, did you read Big Game?
No, and it's interesting to hear that all these different projects for Millar are interconnected, like with Kick-Ass and Hit Girl and all that. So basically, it's pick up one of his books and jump in, or do you guys think I would need to start from a certain place and move my way in? Or?
You could start with Big Game #1, like Nick.
You could,
like
honestly. You could. Yeah, it helps to have some situational awareness of certain characters, but I mean, like you probably just culturally know who Kick-Ass and Hit Girl are. You may have read that. Some of the other stuff is going to be a little more obscure. I don't know a lot of people reading Nightclub.
Nightclub,
maybe outside of like this panel, but like how many people are reading Magic Order into Volume 4? You know what I mean? Like maybe not a whole lot.
Not even me.
Yeah. Not even Robbie. And I dropped in Volume 3, but now I want to go back. So there's so many projects to cover. Jump in right here.
Yeah, he always called it Millarworld or Millarworld. In fact, Mark Millar, he says it's either way is correct. And I hate it when people say that because I want to know the definitive way to say this dude's name.
Like, how do you introduce yourself? Kinda
So
like
until
Kirk
then, we're just going to call him Marky
Pierre.
Mark. No, this, you could just read it on its own. I think you could enjoy it. You could start with the last Nemesis Reloaded and enjoy that. You can read any of his books. They all work on their own. Superior is one I would highly recommend. It's his take on Shazam. It's Shazam meets the movie Big. That's really good. Huck is really good. It's superheroes meet Forrest Gump. A lot of Mark Millar's projects, and I kind of criticize him sometimes. I'm like, he just takes a popular movie and makes it like connected to superheroes, right? Like Big meets superheroes is Superior. Forrest Gump meets superheroes is Huck. But it really does work. And he always works with some of the most amazing artists out there. Speaking of amazing artists, Manny sucks at drawing eggs, but he's really good at drawing sausage. Take from that whatever you will. I don't know what the fuck that was supposed to mean. You reading this book? What do you think?
I liked it. I knew Nick was going to be hype on it. So I was like, I got to read Big Game. I like Nemesis. Nemesis was fine. I loved Ambassadors. I thought that was really good. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like a personal thing. Like I feel like those two characters and stories are like the most highlighted in this. Like I feel like it means that you have to. I feel like you kind of have to read those two. Like this does catch you up, but then everyone else just feels like Easter eggs.
Well, that's actually kind of smart to me because those are his newest series.
Yeah.
Right. But then it all goes back to one of his first creator-owned series, which is Wanted.
Yeah.
Which is way different than the movie, y'all. So you can't you can't just watch the movie and think you understand what Wanted is completely different in the comics than it is in the movie.
How smart was it to reprint Wanted and release it the same day that Big Game came out? Because I picked it up and then I watched the movie that same day.
Very different. Very different.
Nice.
Just so I can. Oh yeah, there's definitely some scenes they obviously ripped right out and one for one. But yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it was good. The artwork is phenomenal. It's a lot of Easter eggs. It feels like I don't know. It feels kind of like Defenders, the Netflix series to me though. Like I feel like characters are just kind of being thrown in, and because nothing has coalesced yet, like okay, here's Hit. Hey, remember Kick-Ass and Hit Girl? Here they are, or Kick-Ass and a little picture of Hit Girl, like I'm assuming he's reminiscing, and that's it. It's like here they are, and then.
But it even references because like Kick-Ass rebooted for a while. There was like a new woman who was Kick-Ass, right? And it kind of like references that a little bit, like he's been out of the game for so long or whatnot.
Yeah, he's a little older. But is it really an Easter? I mean, like an Easter egg to me would be like they're just background characters that don't have any say into the story at all. Like
that's
everything
true.
seems very purposeful and everything blends well. I know what you're saying.
It just feels like
remember this guy. Remember this guy. Remember this guy. Remember this guy.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
So it's like so those were moments. They were fan pleasing moments
for sure.
But it just didn't feel like it totally coalesced yet. But I'm sure it will. Nemesis was was good, and Ambassadors was phenomenal. So I think it's gonna be good.
And Nightclub's rocking that $1.99 tag, I think, right?
Nightclub got really good at first because as much as I like to talk shit about like Chip, I love Chip Zdarsky, and he's got this book, The All-Nighter, about vampires becoming superheroes. And for a while I was like, oh, well, that's more my speed. I like that one. And because I'm a child that needs to choose like Nintendo or Sega, I was like, fuck Nightclub. All right, all-nighter all day long. And then
remember, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
When Nintendo don't. That's right.
So that being said, Nightclub really did come into its own.
Yeah.
Nightclub got better and better each issue, including this last one. The last one is $3.99, by the way, but it is double.
It's double, right? Yeah.
Awesome. That being said, Nintendo was way better than Sega, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Y'all know.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's a whole other discussion for another day. Oh, Chris, did you read this one?
I did, and Nick, you said it beautifully, man. I love the book. I thought I didn't think any of the characters were just thrown in there, Manny. I thought it was very well thought out, and I think we found each character where they are, and I think offered a very good explanation. I think in response to Carrie's question, I think if you did read something, I think Ambassadors and Nemesis, I think those two, if you read those two, you could jump into this and feel like you can understand all of it. But yeah, I mean, Image Comics was dubbing this, as the biggest event of 2020, the summer event. There was in the preview book, you had that blank cover. I think it had a question mark, or it was just blank. They didn't want to, tell us a whole lot about it. There's a lot of hype, coming from Image, and I bought into the hype, man. When I read the first issue, Nick, I loved it, man. So I'm right there with you. I think it's especially rewarding when you've been reading those Mark Millar books over the last, actually the last couple of years, like Prodigy, like all of them, Ambassadors, Nemesis. They're so good, man. I'm a big fan, and I hear a lot of people say, he kind of presents these very cookie cutter superhero stories, like kind of like on steroids. I don't want to say like on steroids, but I disagree. I think he really puts this beautiful spin on all of it, and the way he's now connecting his own universe. Man, that's incredible. It's innovative. It's not done a lot in indie comics. I said it on our show, but I'm like, if you are a Big Two fan and you are always concerned about, I don't really want to read indie comics. Like, I'm just not into. I don't want to dip my feet into an Image book. You're a superhero fan, do the Mark Millar journey, man, or do Ambassadors, Nemesis, and then jump into this. And I think you're going to be really, really satisfied.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely
really
a superhero fan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the book. Mark Millar, even though he's gone what we call indie, he's never really steered too far away from the superhero genre. And the Mark Millar book, those are like a really good bridge from superhero mainstream stuff into some of the more out there independent stuff, right? Because they are two very different mediums within, or two very different genres within the medium of comics, or there's multiple genres you can play with when you don't just do superheroes. But Mark Millar has been able to do all the different genres and still kind of keep that foot in the door with superheroes. And he is a great bridge. Any of his books are a great bridge. If you want to know, how do I make the transition from Marvel and DC into stuff like Image and Boom and Vault and Mad Cave and Scout, or whoever is out there making comics, like Mark Millar stuff is a great bridge from the mainstream to the independent world. But it is weird. And I know how we define it here in comics. Anything not DC or Marvel is indie to us. And I get it. It's an easy way to put that. But maybe we need to start redefining that, because it's hard to define a book bankrolled by Netflix as independent.
That's true. This is true. This is true.
In fact, Mark Millar sold all of his properties to Netflix years ago. So this may have been Netflix going, yo, Jupiter's Legacy didn't work for us. So like, can we make an MCU type thing out of your work?
Hell
right?
yeah, you can. Yeah,
please,
I'm still waiting for Magic Order Volume 1. I loved it, man. Whew.
Yeah, I need to get back
good.
into some of this stuff. I dropped out of a lot of this stuff, man, sometimes, because I feel having read Mark Millar since the beginning of his career, sometimes it's just like, oh, I've been there, done that, I've seen this. But that's actually a fault on me. You know what I'm saying? Of the preconceived notion. And I like to think I give every book a fair shake, but I don't. I read every issue of Amazing Spider-Man right now thinking of what can I make fun of and bitch about this video to like get people excited. So there you go. By the way, you in the comments, Nintendo or Sega, you let us know right now, please. I want to settle this debate right now. But I really did enjoy Big Game. I thought the artwork was good. I thought the scale and scope of it was amazing.
Yep.
I really liked it. Carrie, what's your next pick?
Whew. Okay. So we've been really talking a lot about Jeff Lemire this evening. And so let's keep it going.
Are you going to steal my other pick? Come on.
Let's keep it going.
Do it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I'm so proud of you, Carrie.
This is really cool, not just story-wise. I love the art, and I believe it is him. Yeah, I saw him signing some pages in this. Where I love the use of watercolor in comics. Love it. Love it. And this is pretty much like all watercolor. And so what I'm getting from this is Jeff Lemire has this whole like I don't know the things I kept thinking when I was reading this is one really cool watercolor art. Two, kind of reminded me a little bit of Great Expectations. Three, the Fly, right? Because he becomes the Fly at the end, and I'm like I'm waiting to see if this is basically kind of like a Fly superhero kind of hero anti-hero type thing. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. I wonder what you guys think. It's such a thick book, but it's like it's such an easy read. Like you look at it and it could be kind of intimidating because it's thick.
It was the fastest read of the week for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely really quick, a really quick read, and yeah, not a lot to say except for Jeff Lemire is just awesome.
Yep.
Jeff Lemire is awesome. I loved Fish Flies. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I loved the creepy aspect of stepping on those flies. I love the connectedness to a real life story that he shares.
What is it that they call it? It's called onomatopoeia, where the word is the same as the sound.
Yeah, they do a great job with that. I love the slow build up to it. I love the small town vibe. We get that a lot from Jeff Lemire, especially in the stuff that he illustrates himself. Like, if y'all have never read Royal City, a new complete like compendium came out. Y'all, that book blows me away. Even my friend Hammer Time Holshoe has an issue of it because there was a Weezer Blue Album homage cover. But then when you get to the idea of, and this is something I love about Jeff Lemire, is he's able to take these characters from all different sides. There's this dude who kills this fucking kid during a robbery in this book. And he is wanting us to kind of relate to him in some kind of a way. But we relate to him through this small young lady, right? And the way that he's doing that, he's making a character come across as detestable and then slightly relatable in some kind of way because we're viewing him now through her eyes. And through that, we see his fear, his anxiety about what's going on in his life. He didn't mean to kill that kid. Jeff Lemire's not doing a judgmental type thing. He's saying we're all in the same fucking boat. We're all people. We all make bad decisions. We all have crazy, weird regional things that happen in our world, like times of the year or times of the season at random intervals through the decades where fish flies come and go over everything. This is a real phenomenon. I looked it up. I had to. I looked it up and I was grossed out looking at all these pictures. What a fucking great book. When Jeff Lemire does a book, we pay attention. When Jeff Lemire does a book, I'm sorry.
There's a couple pages at the end where like if you just stop at the end of the comic, you'll miss them. But there's a couple pages at the end where it's like a little letter from Jeff, talking about how he experienced that in his, in his world, in his youth and everything. And it's worth a read if you get a moment, if you haven't read it.
Yeah. Really good stuff from Jeff Lemire. And he's able to take us into that world. He always delivers. And whenever Jeff Lemire is doing a book on his own, writing and illustrating, pay attention. Those are some of the best comics of the last 15 years, I would say. 100%. Manny, what do you think?
I loved it. I mean, I'm a Lemire-phile. I was gonna love it. Like there was no world in which I wasn't gonna enjoy this book. It's what I loved. It was a break from tradition for Lemire. Like this took place in a small town. It had a child with a complicated relationship with their father. There was a crime aspect. I think there was some. It was a stretch for Lemire.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about?
But
I'm like,
was
what?
good. It was good. The twist at the end, I did not see coming. It's on the fucking cover, and I didn't see it coming. Like I was like reading.
Yeah.
I'm like, when it happened, I was like, oh shit, that dude turned into a fly. Like that's crazy.
Mhm.
Where I live in northern rural Minnesota, we have mayflies. What are fish flies? I guess is what they call them in Ontario because it's Canada. But
They're all over everything.
oh,
and then
everywhere.
they're gone.
You go up to Mille Lacs Lake and just swarms everywhere.
That's so fucking gross, y'all. Why would you live there?
Grew up in northern Illinois. I understand.
Yeah, it's but
It was like 100 degrees in my town today. It sucked, but I would choose to live here over a place where that shit happened. Like, what are y'all talking? Like an alien invasion every few years? Y'all are out of your mind.
oh well, you're just ready for an alien invasion. You live in a town where there's rocket ships on every fucking.
Did you
corner.
see the stuff like yesterday that they were talking about on C-SPAN? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Pay
No,
attention,
no.
y'all.
What
Eyes
happened?
above.
What?
Eyes
Yep.
above. Eyes above.
Oh,
Did we have some UFO sightings that I haven't heard
We had
about?
We had
some
some
people-
disclosure shit
yeah.
happen. Check it out. Just look
Yeah,
up
I don't have my
UFO
Gmail.
2023 July. Anyway, we're moving on.
But
We're not talking
yeah,
about
it
UFOs
was-
tonight.
It was. But this book was really good. I like the idea of, there are circumstances in life, like even the kid that gets shot, the popsicle kid. Like before that happens, they're literally stomping on fish flies, right? Like life is fleeting for freaking everybody. There's lots of references to, your they don't live long, things like that, and the way that it all ties in thematically, like we only have this little time on this earth, and what impacts are we making with it?
Yep.
And I don't know, it's cool to see this guy who gets attacked by flies, which in any other story would mean he's dead because he totally shot a kid. This is the comeuppance. This is the plague of locusts that's gonna just it's gonna put divine judgment on his ass. But instead, he becomes this thing that is this insignificant event, and what is he going to make of this chance? Like, I don't know. I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to do with this? Is he like, what is going to happen? Is this like a way to just walk around and you get his comeuppance for a few issues, but that wouldn't be much of a story. So do we have this, arc that he goes through as Fly Guy?
This is the Black Hammer story. They just haven't announced it yet. This is Lemire. This is Lemire saying,
Is he gonna
"Hold
pull
my
Mark
beer."
Millar?
Mark Millar thinks
Oh,
he's got a
God.
shared universe. You wait till animal kids start showing up, and
Mhm.
then they're
And
gonna
there's
go.
red
It's gonna be
string
cool.
everywhere. It's like,
Yeah,
shit.
it's gonna be great.
As soon as he gets those sweet tooth rights back, he's gonna
I got Netflix money too. Damn it.
Hell yeah, man. Great points, dude. Manny likes to act like he just like kayfabes his way through this whole fucking show. That was some of the most profound shit you've ever said. When you were talking about the fish flies and how quick that season is and how that relates to this life of this kid who just got killed, but then the dude who killed him and the event as a plague of locusts, like bringing in the biblical fucking aspect, like from Exodus. Bruh, Manny, you are a scholar and a gentleman and an esteemed member of this panel. That's why you're here every single month, bruh. So thank you for that. Chris, what do you think about Jeff Lemire? And top that, dude. Top that. Come on.
I'm not gonna try, but I will say, look, I love Jeff Lemire's horror stuff, right? And we were just talking about, I should say, I like Jeff Lemire's horror stuff, but when he is in the driver's seat of both the writing and the arts, like you mentioned, Robbie, he just takes it to another level. And I am all about this stuff more than the horror stuff. The Essex counties, the royal cities, the Sweet Tooth. I mean, I know he didn't draw Sweet Tooth, but you know what I'm saying?
It's almost like he goes, if I do this one myself and give it my all, I don't have to share the money with anybody.
True, right? True. Even if it takes me forever. And by the way, this is 64 pages of comic for $5.99, which is it's basically 3 comics for the price of less than 2 comics. So, and in the back of the book, Larry Lemire says that there's not going to be a trade for this book. So if anybody's listening to this right now and you haven't read it, there's a possible hardcover. I mean, that's not guaranteed. in the distant future. But if you want to read this, man, read it now. It reads like a small trade, 64 pages, and that's a lot of bang for your buck. But
it's a format we really need to get to. I think
I love it.
A $6 60-page comic that is square bound and can fit on a shelf is actually better than
100%.
Are you telling me you'd rather have this than a cardstock cover from DC? Like is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Right now? That's what you'd rather have?
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
please.
a DC fan, but yes, this is rather than taking what I think of here with these square bound, thick books like this, rather than taking our comics and putting them in a box and storing them away, why don't we put some of them on the shelf so that we can just see them, and we don't have to, encase them in weird layers of plastic and all this stuff. I mean, I say this, I'm looking at 3 CGCs right now, but like, we don't have to do that. Just, you can go and you can look at it like you're looking at pictures of your family members and your loved ones. Like there's Fish Flies by Jeff Lemire, and you remember what you feel when you look at that, and you don't have to open a box and sort through books to do it.
And then the other thing, and Chris, I'm sorry, we're stepping all over you right now.
No, you're good. You're good.
But like, he's doing this to show you the importance of buying it issue to issue. And he even tells you in the first issue, there may be a compendium or a hardcover that has the whole thing together. That's brilliant.
Maybe. Yeah.
There will be, because that's brilliant, because this is something that's perennial. This is something that can be on bookshelves 20 years from now and still sell, still be relevant. It won't be as relevant as whatever the fuck is going on in Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Chris. 100%.
Now, and just kind of while we're on the topic, Simpleton DC in the chat earlier, he watches our show also, and he does this really cool thing. If you guys go follow him on Instagram, but he gets the single issues of comics. He'll get like whatever 12 to 20 issues, and he binds his own books, man. And he sent me one. Actually, I didn't know I was going to show that, but look, Jeff Lemire. This is the work of Simpleton DC, dude. And look at this. He's hardcover. He bound this whole thing himself. Puts image on the back. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, this is incredible work. And these are single issue. Like he took the floppies. You can see there. Look at the back of the book, the barcode in the back. He took the floppies and he bound them together into this. And I would much rather have this on a shelf than having those in a box, right? Where you're saying, Carrie.
There have been people since the 60s and 70s that were binding comics together into their own collections to put on a shelf. And it blows my mind. In fact, the first time I read Denny O'Neil's The Question series with Dennis Cowan, which anybody who's never read that book, it's one of the best books ever. And it's a shame that it's only available right now in DC through an omnibus, but it's worth getting. The Question series by Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cowan is one of the best ever. But the first time I ever read that was a dude gave me bound copies of all the issues. I still have them in the closet back there.
Wow.
And I just love it. That's a really cool thing to do. It ruins your comics. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I mean, for something like this, like I would much rather have it in that format, and I love it. But just getting back to the book, I mean, like all the best Lemire stories, this small town, set in a small town, the focus is on these few main characters. And then, like we've all talked about, every so often during the year, these insects come to town. They just ruin everything. They stick onto everything. It reminded me when I was a kid, small Texas town that I grew up in. There was this one summer, man, where we had crickets just freaking came into the little town for like a good 2 or 3 weeks, and we were infestated with these crickets. I remember getting the vacuum and they were inside, they were outside. And my mind automatically went to that memory reading this book. And I remember crunching on those freaking crickets when I was a kid outside. And so my brain went to that when I'm reading this. So that, puts me in a nostalgic feel as I'm reading the comic. So it took me to another great place.
Once
Um,
again, why would you live there if that happened here, man?
I mean,
Like,
it's not an annual. It was like it was not a thing that happens all the time.
no, I
But
get what you're saying. There's something that
But yeah.
happened a few years ago here with cicadas.
Cicadas
I was
are
gonna
Yeah.
say,
on
y'all
the
don't have
south.
bugs in Alabama.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We
Like
got a
every
lot.
7 or 16 years. or
I
something.
drove down to Alabama in April. Y'all, just between Tennessee and Alabama, y'all got a plague of armadillos. What the?
Oh, yeah,
Every
yeah, for sure.
5 miles,
We're all over the
there
place.
is it's like up here with raccoons for us, but
It's a major
just
problem,
dead
dude.
armadillos
It's a
everywhere.
major problem in the Southeast, dude. They just fly
Oh, yeah.
around, jump into cars and shit. It's
do.
nuts.
They aim for the tires.
Yep.
Well, it's
Yeah.
bullshit too, because my whole life I've been raised to think they wear giant cowboy hats and boots and serve barbecue. There was none of that.
I'll tell you this, Nick.
dude,
Down here, if mosquitoes were as big as fish flies, we would have the
Oof.
same problem.
I hate
yeah.
mosquitoes.
God. Yeah.
God, I hate mosquitoes.
Oh, they're
But yeah, I mean, again, he's in his wheelhouse, and I love that it's based off of a real thing that happened to him in Essex County. Which every time I hear him talk about Essex County, it's just another beautiful thing, because it takes you back to the book, and he's just got all of this working for him, and of course that scenery with those bugs. That's where the story begins, and this crime in the gas station, which kind of just. That's where everything starts, and it kind of just leads us from there. And we're covering this crime. It's going to change, obviously, the characters. It's going to change this town as the police are involved. So, yeah, I love this book, man. I loved it a lot. And these are the type of books that I come to Lemire for. Like, I enjoy the horror stuff, but man, this is what I'm here for. Like, I love these type of Lemire stories. Family Tree, I just had it right there. Man. Love it all.
Family Tree's really good. Phil Hester,
Yeah.
dude, man.
Yeah, Family Tree.
Yes.
Simpleton. When I said ruin your books, I just meant that from a speculator type.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Do whatever
He
you want
made
with
it.
your comics.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
send me any bound comic book volumes of books I love? Please do. I could have the entire Stanley Jack Kirby run of Fantastic Four bound, and I would treasure it just as much as
Heck
having
yeah.
9.8 CG. More than having 9.8 CGCs. You know what I'm saying? Because I would read those. Is
If
what
the
I'm saying,
Murphy-
right?
If the,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
the
yeah.
Murphyverse ever concluded, if there was no more
Yeah, there you go.
Murphyverse,
Oh, that'd be
that
fun.
would be something I would be like absolutely tickled pink
Well,
to have. All
Now it's time to have
together.
those Millarverse omnibuses
Oh,
put
yeah.
together, right? What about you, Nick? You got any
Family
thoughts
Tree.
on Fish Fly?
I mean, no, I think you. There you go. I think you all said it pretty well. I felt the book more than I understood it, so we're gonna have to see where this story goes now that he has this like avatar weird bug guy. It reminded me of the scene in Beetlejuice when he's the fly for a second. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he disappears. That's the first thing I thought about. But yeah, I totally felt the book. It's very atmospheric, obviously, and so it was a great read.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Manny, what's your pick?
Boom.
Your next pick. What book
Oh,
you
and-
want to highlight?
Dude, let's you guys already took all the Lemire ones, so I'll go with DC. Holy hell. I'm gonna go I'm going Static Shadows of the Coda. I am absolutely loving this story. I love where it went. When it first came out, I was like, oh no, this is some shiny ass manga shit. And then like it turned in from that to this really dark story about this missing kid. And I love I love how the artwork became more and more deconstructed as the story got darker. And now it feels like we're resetting to the next part of the arc. Now that we've determined what happened with Quincy, now there's like a reboot, and the artwork went back to what it was in the first issue again. As the Eben as the villain gets, he's a lot more darker. He's almost like a dark mirror of Static. His scenes have that same frenetic, deconstructed quality about them. So I love the way that the artwork is really tied in well with the storytelling. Vita Ayala is doing a great job with that as well, working with Draper Ivy. But it's just been a really strong book that I don't hear anyone talk about. It's really good.
I dropped out after like 2 issues. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to like stay plugged into a Milestone book, and I don't know why, right? Because as a white dude, I get nervous about that, right? And I'm like, I don't know, what is it? And I really need to make a conscientious effort to like sit down and like just read the whole thing. Because I like Vita. I've met Vita. They are absolutely a fantastic person and a great writer, in my opinion. I like their work more when I read it in a trade paperback, right? There are certain writers like that. To be honest, I feel that sometimes with Rick Remender. Like Black Science was something I fell out of, but when you read it in trade paperback, holy shit. Same thing with Uncanny X-Force. So there are certain writers that work that way. So I need to get back in, because there are issues of Static that I've read that I absolutely adore. And I know that we got crisscross sometimes doing like layouts or the artwork, and it's dynamic and it's cool and it's interesting. And I want to see Milestone highlighted, and I want to see it highlighted more than it is. It needs to actually be like, if DC really does care about these properties and this voice that's a part of their collective universe now that they have, don't just shun it off into its own thing. Make it something big. Get the biggest creators. Get some of the biggest names out there. Let's really draw attention to these characters, because there is so much hardcore, Icon, Static. These are characters that there's something appealing about it, but there is something about the way DC's presenting it that doesn't feel as important as maybe it should be. If that makes sense.
Of course. Yeah.
Who else?
And I love that you said all that not reading this book, Robbie. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Chris, do you read the book?
I don't, man. I don't. But, which is why I loved hearing Manny talk about it, because you're right. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this comic, and hearing you talk about it, I'm like, I had no clue that all of that was in that book, man. So
well, there's this really, really cool through line about like doing everything in a way that is considered correct and appropriate. It's a very I don't want to make this comparison.
And what is correct and important in certain situations.
I don't really want to make this comparison because I know it's going to sound like, oh, it's because it's a Milestone book. But there is a very Martin Luther King, Malcolm X dynamic between the two, the protagonist and antagonist in this story.
And even the fact that he's the textbook antagonist, it's like there's a gray area.
Yeah. Well, and the way Virgil's written in this, the very first issue of Shadow of Dakota, you get this idea that he is the ultimate SJW. Like he's standing up to the police for homeless people. He's making sure that he's feeding people. He's taking care of the community. I think community is used like 17 times in that first issue. And you get this, wow, Virgil is this ideal. He's this like Gen Z ideal kid that doesn't exist. And as the story continues, his way isn't working. It's not protecting the people that are the closest to him. You can do everything in a gentrified way that fucking feels like that's what society wants you to do, or you have to do what Ebon does. And it's such a really cool dynamic. And I love that it's this emotional or thematic through line throughout. No one issue hits it so hard that you're like, okay, that's the message of the book. But you slowly understand the messaging of this book in a way that's very, it causes you to think about your own personal biases when it comes to these things. It's so good.
It's the thing that's like, when you're sitting there, in particularly this issue, where it is the aftermath of knowing that Quincy is gone and Quincy was killed. And for those of you that don't read it, Quincy is basically like a little kid. He's like, it's not really like the same situation, but it kind of is like Virgil is his mentor, and you find out that Quincy has a little bit of Bane baby in him, which is basically that's what is the term that they use for a person that got superpowers because of the Big Bang, which is something that it's a lot more complicated than just saying a couple sentences on it. But it's this little kid just gets brutally murdered, and Virgil is sitting there. It's one of those things where it's like, what is the thing that could happen that could make someone cross their uncrossable line? And Virgil is really struggling with that because he feels like he should have been there. He should have protected Quincy. He's taking a lot of this on himself. And it's heavy. It's heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down a note. Read Milestone. I wrote down those notes so many times, and I shouldn't make this commitment right before Horror Fest, but I'm going to read more Milestone. Is what I'm going to do. 100%. I get my DC books early enough. I'm going to try to stick with them. Nick, do you have any history with Milestone? You reading any of the new stuff?
No, I feel like I dipped in the Static when it rebooted. Maybe like 2 years ago, a year ago, something like that.
Season 1.
There was like, yeah, I think I dipped in for an issue or two, but I think I had the same kind of thoughts and feelings that we've just, kind of described here. Like something about it kind of pushed me away a little bit. Maybe I just wasn't ready to get into this or not, because I know there's a lot of history with this character too. So it's just like, I can't learn a new character right now. But no, it's super intriguing though.
There's so many options every single week. And it's one of the reasons why we do this monthly show, right? Because we know what it's like for you out there as the viewer, right? Where you're out there, you're in the comic shop every week, and there's so much new. There's more new number ones than there are ongoing series sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous to make your way through that. That's why we do this show. So we can tell y'all the 10 or 15 or 20 comics that we think are absolutely the best to watch, or to read, to stick with, that's why we do this. And I'm really committed. I want to read more of this Milestone stuff. I was trying to stay up with it, but it's hard because there's so many options out there. DC's I got to do a better job of marketing this, of getting it out there. And maybe that's us here on YouTube. Let's be honest. Maybe some of the best marketing they have in comics is what we do, because I have had many conversations with creators. So has Manny. So has Chris. So everybody here has had conversations with creators. And I hear this all the time. There's no marketing department. It's on me to market my comic.
Of course, yeah.
On what, Twitter? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? On any social media, like, it's eventually you're going to lose it. So, like, if we love these comics, you got to raise your voice. You got to let people know.
There's a gentleman that's on YouTube. His name is BJ. He does a channel. It used to be called BJ Kicks. Now it's called Comics Are Dope. He is a huge Milestone fan. So if you want to look into anything Milestone, check out his channel and any of his Milestone stuff. I think he has a complete run of the original Static. He might have complete, original Milestone runs, but he definitely talks about him a lot. I've been in live chats of his, where Dennis Cowan jumps in the chat. And he's just there, talking with everyone. Gregory Thorne was in a chat one time.
Oh, I love Greg. He's so cool.
Yeah. So it's if you want to see somebody that is actually, shout out to BJ for doing all the Milestone stuff that he does, because he's very knowledgeable and there's a lot of info out there.
Not Greg, Jeffrey Thorne.
Jeffrey Thorne, excuse me.
My bad.
Yeah.
Excuse me too. Right. All right. Where are we at? Let's see. A lot of love for Milestone. I always hear
see that.
a lot of love for Milestone.
Yeah.
You said this is the second season of Static?
See, you know what's crazy about Static is that you have the newer stuff, right? That's happening right now. But you also have the old version of it, which was the original run of Milestone, which is back in the early 90s. So you have the original Static, you have the original Hardware, you have the original Icon and Rocket, and so you have that, and those are at least there's in part in two compendiums. So like you have Compendium 1 and Compendium 2 just came out earlier in the year, I believe. Where
and I got them. I just need to get to them.
Yeah.
The compendium had such a weird reading order, though. It's
trying to be like chronological, right?
Yeah. So
it's chronological to publication.
Here's the thing: if DC wants to highlight Milestone, let us know that it's important. These compendiums are nice. $60 price tag, even for that much content, way too much for the average buyer.
That's rough.
Right? That's for the dedicated buyer. Put out Static Shock, the original. Put out Icon. Put out Hardware. Put out Blood Syndicate. Do those. Have those
smaller books. Yes.
Yeah, have them in smaller,
Mhm.
more affordable compendiums or like trade paperbacks, like $15, $20. Do that. So many trade paperbacks now, the average trade paperback price is like $30, $40. That's ridiculous, y'all. That's
and
ridiculous.
Because of the way that the economy is, the whole reason that Milestone started was because there was a need for that voice in the market, and there was a need to get that information and those books out to kids that needed to see them. And that's the whole reason they were doing it. When you have these compendiums that, I mean, I'm working a 9-to-5 job at a mortgage, company. Oh, okay, sure. I threw $60 down to get a compendium, but I'm, I'm random white girl in Midwest,
But at the same time, like when you get to those compendiums, how many times can you read that till it starts falling apart?
That one is actually the one that we have. I think that
they're good. They did the same thing with Starman. They did the same thing with Starman, but like put those in, like make them affordable, make them accessible. That's the thing. Is more accessible. Mm-hmm. I think you make them more accessible by having smaller, more affordable. Like if you, DC, man. I guess what the whole point of this is, DC, if you want Milestone to be significant, which it is, and like you said, Carrie, that voice was needed back then, that perspective was needed, it's still needed.
Yes.
Right? So make it available.
Right? And when you have it for $60 a pop, well, that rules out a whole lot of people that need to see it. And
absolutely.
I know it's rough for me throwing down $60 for one book. And it's one of the reasons I don't really like or buy omnibuses, because it's too cumbersome, not only in actual size, but also in, price.
Well, this is a whole other argument that we maybe need to have a whole show about, but omnibuses actually kind of suck as a reading experience, because nobody needs to be Popeye to be able to read one of these fucking comics.
Well, I don't like feeling like I'm in the reference section of the fucking library. Like,
right?
My thing is they're just too heavy for the toilet, man. Like when you're sitting there and you're like, come on, like how am I supposed to take this to the restroom with me?
It's perfect Chris, for the toilet right here. Right.
That's Chris, you're right on the money. Comic books need to be toilet accessible.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Well, Marvel, that doesn't mean we want you to print them on toilet paper.
Yeah, right.
Well,
they're ahead of the curve. They're giving you toilet paper.
I always tell people, leave your comics at a doctor's office or a dentist's office, right? Leave them there with those boring ass 5-year-old magazines that nobody wants to read. Leave some comics, people will check them out. How about leave them in bathroom stalls?
Hey,
that's actually a good idea, right?
Wow.
There you go.
All right, dude. It's time to end the show.
You gotta buy some Mylar bags with the Pop Culture Philosophers logo.
It's time for the end of the show. Rapid fire, everybody. The comics that we didn't quite get to, but that you would recommend. Chris, first time, you're our number one honored guest tonight, but I'm going to go first to let you know how this.
All right.
Even though
keep doing that crap to me, man. I'm like, all right.
You like how I did that? You like how I did that?
Yeah. I see you. I see you.
Acknowledge that kiss, that intimate moment we shared at Heroes.
Oh, I acknowledged it, man. I don't know if you saw my. I mean, I put the picture up on.
Oh, don't worry. Fable's going to.
I was proud of it, man.
Fable's going to ask us about that. All right, my rapid fire. Because I always go last on rapid fire.
You do, but you went first last time, so
such a gentleman.
I guess it's a new trend. All right, Peacemaker tries hard. Manny probably wants to talk about this, so I'll just say Peacemaker's awesome. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, #7, great book, maybe one of Jason Aaron's best. And once again, poly representation. That's awesome. Barnstormers #1. I was very impressed by this book, and not excited by the whole concept, but Tula Lotte, I met her. She is Mary fucking Poppins. She is the most like respectful, proper British woman you've ever met. It's so crazy. Brian went on this long fucking spiel about how much he loved her work, and she just goes, "Thank you so much, doll. Thanks. Goodbye."
Oh,
It was just like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
Something epic. Number 3. I'm surprised you didn't mention
Well,
it.
I know. It's right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
it
was one.
was going to be my number 2 pick, but I panicked. But I'm glad we talked about Static because that book was fucking.
This was the best issue
Yeah.
yet because I think Kudronsky listens, and I think that we have convinced each other that this book is better than we initially thought. Even those of us that loved it more. This is one of the best books of the year. Pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Batman
Agree.
Superman World's Finest number 17. This is good classic fucking superheroism, man. People think I don't like superhero comics. I only like Daniel Clowes. I only like slice of life, Craig Thompson shit. No. Batman Superman World's Finest. Never gave it a bad review after issue 3. Come on, y'all. It's a great book. The Vigil number 3. Rom V killing it.
good.
Exclusive at DC now, aside from creator-owned stuff. So thankfully, Rom's able to keep doing that. But come on, y'all. The Vigil, best issue
amazing.
yet.
Yeah.
The Vicious Circle number 2. Lee Bermejo, Matt Tompkins, right? Or Thompson, whatever. Whatever his name is. Who cares? Lee Bermejo, work of his career in Vicious Circle. It's Circle, not Cycle, right?
Circle.
Okay.
Mhm.
That book's really good. It only comes out once every 6 months. So just wait for the hardcover. Ronin, book 2, number 3. Frank Miller doing layouts. Philip Tan doing amazing fucking renditions of that. And in the back of issue 3, my favorite part, we see Frank Miller's layouts and I look at them and I go, why didn't you just have someone ink this? Because it's finished fucking, those are not layouts, Frank. I'm sorry. Those are not layouts. That's finished comic book artwork.
Yeah.
World Tree number 4, best issue yet.
I can't wait.
Loved it so much. I know some of y'all haven't gotten it. You get a lot more clearer picture of what's going on. Superman, Last Days of Lex Luthor number 1.
Well, damn you, Ron. You keep
That's a
taking
really-
you're taking everything, dude. No.
All I'm going to say is this. Brian Hitch inked by Kevin Nolan. That's all I'm going to say. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Usagi Yojimbo, Whirlwind number 5. You're going to take a bullshit TMNT crossover and actually turn it into a really tragic turning point into the Usagi Yojimbo fucking legacy. You're killing it. Y'all are killing it. And Eastman on the cover, man. I get the Eastman covers. I'm such a mark. Under the Influence number 1 from our friend Elliot Rahal. That was a really, really solid book that more people need to check out. That is very important, has a very important message about how we are being influenced through media. And it does it in a really cool Elliot Rahal type way. All right, Chris, what you got? Rapid fire.
All right, let's go with Hairball issue number 4, Dark Horse Comics, Matt Kent on that one. That was the conclusion to the series. That demented cat bestie. I mean, who knew that it actually had an origin story and that origin was rooted in this ancient history? I thought that was a nice touch. And then I just love how it all comes back around to this idea that this girl, she wanted to get rid of this cat, wanted to murder the cat, because she thought the cat was trying to murder her and her family. And at the end, she kind of realizes, I needed this cat to help me get out of this harmful situation and this harmful environment that she was in with this adopted family. She realizes that this cat was actually trying to protect her, and then they come together. It's a beautiful little ending there. I loved this series, man. It was kind of quirky and fun, but it had that nice undertone of heart, and I loved it.
Seasons would be happy, by the way.
I was going to say,
that we brought up a Matt Kent book. All right.
Oh, I love it. I did love that a lot. Seasons Have Teeth, issue number 4, yesterday. I don't want to say too much because I heard Carrie earlier say, I know you said you loved the book and you didn't get to read it this week. Man, I loved that series. I did agree. I watched your video this week, Robbie, and the ending was a little bit kind of like, boom, it just like ended. And I was like, what? I went and looked at, I looked it up because I was like, hey, is there another issue? I went and looked it up. And I was like, no, that was the end.
all the seasons.
Yeah. But aside from
I would
that,
have loved it if Dan would have been like, "No, there's a 5th fucking season we've never known."
right?
It's like the 13th zodiac sign.
No, man. But aside from that, man, that was such a great book. And then the realization that he comes to at the end, right? It's like all these issues have just been him. I don't want to spoil it, Carrie, but he's been reflecting on these and contemplating his life that he had, right, with his deceased, with Cindy, right? And then at the end, how he's like, hey, you know what? I'm still alive. I'm still breathing, and I still have this blank canvas, right? I love that comic.
Dude, and just the way that winter, a blanket of white. It's a blank canvas. Even at the end of your life, you can still find meaning to appreciate the winter of your life, bruh. I think this is a book we're going to appreciate more the more and more we read it. 100%.
So that one. And you took mostly all my other books, so let me throw in. This is an interesting one. This was my palate cleanser pick this week. This was Murder by Mail from Source Point Press. I don't know if anybody else read this. I didn't see very many people read it.
Read it, man.
This is interesting. This is kind of an innovative type of comic, and basically what the format of the book is that we, as the reader, we are put into the driver's seat of being a detective, and it's not just your normal, like, you just read through the issue. You are presented with this case. It's a murder case, right? And you're investigating the death and the potential murder of this brother and sister's parents, and it's pretty cool. Like, throughout the book, you're given all this evidence. You're given these transcripts of phone calls, and you're given clues throughout the book, police reports, and it's your job to kind of go through it, gather the evidence, and then toward the end of the book, it tells you to stop. You stop, and if you've taken notes or if you've been paying attention, you kind of have an idea who the murderer is, and then you kind of put your own thoughts, you formulate your thoughts, turn the page, and it tells you this is what happened, this is how the murder went down. And each one of these issues is going to be like that. You got to take your time. If you're doing a lot of reading like we do, every single week, take your time with this one, because you can't breeze through it. It's a lot of words. Like I said, you're reading through a lot of transcripts and evidence. But man, I had a lot of fun with this. Like, as somebody that's a big fan of crime and like crime, I'm not committing crimes, guys, but you know what I'm saying? A fan of
I'm a big
crime
fan
stories.
of crime.
I love crime. I love it.
Crime fiction. Say crime fiction.
Crime fiction. Being able to put yourself in the driver's seat of this case, and then to see the conclusion, a lot of fun. It really broke up my reading yesterday, and that was my palate cleanser. And great book. I enjoyed it.
Definitely have to check that one out, because we had it, but I just didn't pick it up for some reason. And
it's fun. It's an experience.
Wow.
I love that crime fiction is the only genre that has to put fiction after it. We don't say horror fiction, sci-fi fiction, that's necessary, but we have to be like crime fiction, because you don't want to say you love crime. Speaking of loving crime, the biggest criminal on the panel is Nick from Comic Culture for being so goddamn sexy. Why don't you tell us your rapid fire, my friend?
All right, rapid fire. Let's do it. Space Outlaws came out this past week. Western sci-fi book. It's like Men in Black meets Terminator meets like Chronicles of Riddick, maybe. I don't know. Really, really cool book. I just on a whim. This one was really interesting from this week. If you have room, and I think it was a $7 book, but I feel like it's extra size. Art is crazy good in here as well. Very Terminator-esque. Check that one out. We didn't even talk about it. Hellfire Gala, right? For our Fall of X, issue number 1. We talked about this. So much crap happens in this book. Like, they touch on some Miss Marvel stuff. They touch on the gala. Shit hits the fan. It's a gigantic issue. Man, the whole era is on fire right now. So check this one out.
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies except for like 2 mutants.
It's actually really exciting. If this would have happened 2 years ago, I would have been on board for this whole goddamn journey, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's like some Sins of Sinister stuff, obviously, that's been building and building and building. It all comes to a head in this issue. Insane. Even a casual like me was like, holy crap, that's some pretty cool stuff going on there. A book that I wasn't really excited for, but actually turned out to be pretty good. Blade, issue number 1, got the Frank Miller cover. Blade issue number 1 was a great read. I love the atmosphere. I love the art. The character was interesting. He's got some shit to deal with right now. And a lot of mystery and some supernatural forces he's up against. Better than average. Thought it was
The only
good. Red,
thing I didn't like about that book was the coloring, man. I loved everything. else.
yeah, it's very red, or there's a lot of well,
lot
it's
of
foggy
red
colored
or
pages.
blue.
Yeah, I actually dug it. I don't know. There's something about it.
It does
It's
kind
a-
of look like an Argento film. Maybe I need to watch it in a brighter light. I mean, read it
Yeah.
in a brighter light. So
It's that atmosphere that it gives.
Are you saying you
Um,
need to read it lit? Is that what you're telling me, Robbie?
I think I need to read it digitally, is what I'm trying to say.
Digitally.
Backlit.
Mhm.
We talk about it all the time. I think it's my job to bring this book up every month. Crypto Killers issue number 3. Awesome,
Ah.
awesome book, dude. This one was
Yes.
especially crazy.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Norm Macdonald's Quentin Tarantino. Is that what he's writing, right?
It's Quentin Tarantino explaining the conspiracy behind Red Rooms, and then he gets involved in one himself. It's insane. It's so cool. So make sure to check out that one. And we get a plug of his daily strip in the very back of this too, which is awesome. It's like his own little version of, I don't know, like Rugrats meets Garbage Pail Kids or whatever in a way.
It's another
pretty-
level for his artwork, the coloring, man.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, it's very, very different than what I'm used to seeing from him. A crossover. Last 2 books are turtle books. Crossover that shouldn't work, but does. Stranger Things, Turtles. I loved it. I loved the 2 different teams mashing up and just kind of fighting. What were they? Mauser Gorgons. That's all you need to know, man. That was so cool. And then I had a blast reading what is it? The Last Ronin Lost Day Special. Got the Eastman variant. Very, very cool. I like the universe building that they're doing right now. They're giving you an idea of who's ruling the streets right now, all the different factions out there. This generation of turtles is a little annoying to me because they're like so juvenile. They're just, in a bad way, in my opinion. Like I don't like any of their voices. They got to work on that maybe, but I like the world building they did in here, and I wonder how far they're actually going to take this. So yeah, pretty cool book. That's
They're
my
going to
rapid
milk
fire.
it.
Oh, of course.
Kevin basically told me they're going to
Of
milk
course.
it. And the fact that Kevin told me when I did the panel with him that he had maybe some of the last like extensive collections of duotone pages and chemicals and shit.
Yeah, him and Ed
he
Yeah.
uses them in this one like crazy.
Oh, really?
Oh my!
He does.
those pages where you can see the duo shade that he's
Sure.
using. That's vintage duo shade. That's not digital. That's like real stuff, man.
It
That
also
looks very old school, doesn't it?
It does. That also is what bothered me with this book, the art shifts. Because every time Eastman was doing it, I was like, hell yeah. And then it jumped off and I'm like, damn it. And then
I know.
he did like every 7 pages or something. I was like,
I just really
so
want
annoying.
Eastman to do the layouts for everything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and Peter got back in the game on the cover for the last whatever issue it was for Usagi. So I'm just like, dude, just
Mhm.
do a book, guys. Come on, you're there before you can't do it.
Maybe they
You
are. We'll ask him in September in Memphis.
Oh yeah,
That's
for
what
sure.
we'll do.
We'll
We'll
pin
be
him
like, hey,
down for
bro,
sure.
just do a fucking whole book.
Get Peter on the phone.
Yeah. We got Peter on the phone right now. Carrie,
Yes.
you got Peter Laird's Instagram number, I'm sure. Anyway, rapid fire. What you got?
Okay, Batman White Knight presents Generation Joker. The next one. This is number 3. Yep. Love this. Love Murphyverse. Just love Murphyverse. We're doing this quickly here. Anybody else reading that one? Anyone? No? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
All 8 Eyes, the conclusion. Who doesn't love giant spiders in New York City?
David
You know.
Arquette. Does
Yeah.
Well, yeah, him. But
wasn't New
besides
York,
him, it's the conclusion. We got kind of a bittersweet ending there. Reynolds gets to take out his white whale, and it's really good. I like it a lot. Let's get some more DC. We got the Joker Night Terrors book. If you have ever worked in an office setting with cubicles,
Mm-hmm.
you feel this book. You feel this book because
a
I
nightmare.
have. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and I love it because what's really great about it is that it's the Joker's nightmare is that Batman dies accidentally, and he cannot find any thrill out of crime anymore because the Batman's not coming. So he's like, well, shit, gotta go get a regular job.
Yeah. He
And he
joins the
starts-
cast of The Office.
Yeah, basically.
I loved
Nice.
it.
And it's so good. It's so much fun. I'm loving it. I like the Joker anyways because it has that little, little humor, tinge of humor. One of my favorite parts in this was one how he keeps on telling them the truth, and everybody thinks it's a joke. And also how he runs after he's working in the office for a while. He runs into Gaggy, and Gaggy's like, "So what do we do, boss?" And he's like, "I don't know, Gaggy. Just find something that makes you happy and do it." So lots of fun. Night Terror's First Blood introduces us to the entire event. It's Insomnia. I really like Insomnia as a villain, and I like that Deadman is so heavily involved in this. I love Deadman. So yeah, and it's Williamson, Porter, pretty freaking cool. Let's see here. Let's go with Batman. Batman from Night Terrors. Williamson, and you also have the Robin backup story, which I really enjoyed. Damian trying to get answers as to what happened to him in one of the preview issues, preview stories.
The free comic there.
Yeah, and he's trying to find information about that, and you have to wonder: is Damian truly asleep or is he awake at the end of it? That kind of leaves that open.
Both the main story and the Robin story, the most tied in out of all the tie-ins to the main event, for sure.
Yes. And it's mostly because by the end of the Night Terror's main book, that beginning, Deadman is kind of at the wheel, so to speak, of Batman. He's inhabiting Batman to keep Batman going, because Batman is having nightmares. And so it's very aware. Batman is very aware of the fact that Deadman is inside of him and kind of, at the wheel. And yeah, love it. Love it. More Night Terrors, just continuing this, fun little, keep on going through that. And this one is my last one I'm going to mention. This is Poison Ivy. Now, some of these Night Terror books directly involve themselves, like Robbie was mentioning, like Batman directly involves itself with the main title and what's going on with the main title. And some of them do not. And this is one of the ones that does not. But what I really loved about this is that it reminded me of the video Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden.
A lot of smiles and stuff. Barbecues.
Yes.
I actually really like that comparison.
So it reminded me of Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. And I like the fact that when you're reading that and you get to a certain point, you're wondering, is this Poison Ivy's nightmare or is it Janet from HR's nightmare? You have to wonder. But yeah.
I love that most of your rapid fire were Night Terrors tie-ins. So
it was because I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm reading more than just DC. Obviously, you guys are seeing that. But
we're just teasing you. By the way, the Hayden Sherman artwork in the Harley Quinn Night Terrors was absolutely
oh my god, it's so amazing.
Good. So good.
And I do have to say I really like that it's the first issue where I'm seeing Teenie Howard not rely on the whole blonde ditz thing.
Yeah. And she's reading Grant Morrison in the comic, so that's always super cool, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
I love the meta aspect of it, and I love the artwork. And it's Hayden's done DC work, but he hasn't done layouts comparable to their Wasted Space work since Wasted Space. So it's really cool to see that in the pages of Harley Quinn. Manny, rapid fire, what you got, bro?
I hear Hayden Sherman, and I just agree. She's like Hayden Sherman Darmok. I was like, yes. And then she's like,
That's
and then it's like
great.
in Harley Quinn. And I was like, oh, I didn't read that one.
I love how he changes
Yeah.
between series. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, Hayden's
it's-
just the greatest. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even fucking kidding. And talk about that Morpheus, Morbius fucking influence.
Oh man. So my rapid fire, let's kick off with some gigantic moronic splendor, you guys. We've got I Hate This Place, issue 10, all 8 eyes open. That one was already talked about, clobbering time. And you know what? Fucking Venom has been decent. The last
What?
since issue 20, Venom has been decent. There's something about, like, I would have loved to have seen Ron V's Venom. I would have fucking loved to have seen Ron V's Venom. Not Ron V doing Al Ewing's Venom in a Ron V way as much as he could.
Preach.
And
Yeah,
Al
no kidding.
Ewing,
I want to see Rom V writing in that.
absolutely. There's some moments. There's a voicemail in the first couple issues that I keep talking about because it's about the only thing that I could say. But Al Ewing being able to consistently write the story, like Dylan flows better in the story. I think Rom's Dylan was a little more human than Ewing's, but Ewing's story flows so much better. So the stuff going on with Eddie has been really fun. The stuff going on with Dylan has been ho-hum. We get some Toxin action this month too, which was cool. Not in this issue, but in the other one that came out this month, because I didn't even realize I was buying multiple Venoms every month. But it's good. Those are good, gigantic, moronic splendor books. Clobbering Time is so good. We've been talking about art this entire time. And this book is so stupid, but it's so good to look at. It's so much fun to look at.
Did you get the new Berserker one shot?
Oh, yes, I did, but I didn't read it yet.
It's Steve Scroce as well, bro. Oh my
dude.
goodness. It's ridiculously
It's
awesome.
insane.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to dive in. But
We got to mention that one
so
too.
good. So good.
Yeah.
So good. And then we had a couple. Here's my two Power Rangers things, because I'm kind of par for the course. Radiant Black is mentioned because I always mention Radiant Black, and Taki's in the chat. And then the coin list was fucking really cool. Like I the Power Rangers Unlimited, I could take them or leave them. Hyperforce, I was pretty disappointed that they didn't make the Blue Ranger look like Andre the Black Nerd from Black Nerd Comedy. But Coinless was cool. It was cool to revisit Draken's World. It's super cool to see Bulk as a fucking Power Ranger finally. I thought that was really cool. The idea that he's keeping Skull around, even though Dark Spectre has been turning everybody into these like zombies, the idea that their friendship means that much to him, that he's keeping them chained up like every zombie trope movie you've ever seen, and that comes back to bite them in the ass really hard. I think that was a cool character moment for those two. I really liked the Coinless. Draken, he's the least interesting part. What is it, Kaya or whatever, the old blue Omega Ranger is back. They've got a really one-note relationship, but I kind of want to see how it goes, because it's nostalgia back to when like Power Rangers was good. So like, you know, that I like. And then Radiant Black, they picked the Radiant. If you've been waiting to see who they picked the Radiant and you want to see that people pick the wrong Radiant, this is the issue where you get to see that.
You know that book has multiple endings.
There are some where the other guy gets the Radiant?
Yes. So there are two covers. It's a reverse mirror image of that cover. There are two different endings where each dude, the two dudes, one gets picked and then another gets picked. There are rumors that the future books have basically variant interiors, which the last time they tried this shit was like Fathom back in the day, or Gen 13.
Wow.
Like, it's a bullshit fucking strategy. They didn't let anybody fucking know. Yes, get
right.
the other cover. You get the other part of the story, and now there's two timelines going on. Bro, they fucked you in Radiant Black, man. Just so you know.
What the fuck? What the absolute? You just ruined my life.
You just said, if you want to know who gets picked to be the Radiant, bro, no, they don't. They do both.
Dude, do you know how many second printings of Radiant books I get because they already have enough variant covers of this shit? I'm in Facebook groups for Radiant Black that just talk about the different variant covers. All right,
Dude.
I
Wow.
can't hang out
Anybody
with
know
family
either.
chats for that long, and they're talking about Radiant Black variants. Like, Like, oh my goodness. But anyway, it's Radiant Black. Taki, I love you. It's in here. They picked the wrong person, but apparently they may have picked the right person. I don't know. It's like Hawk in 0 Hour, I guess. This is the new villain because they just couldn't make up their fucking mind. All right. And meanwhile, the most interesting Radiant, the coolest Radiant Yellow, Wendell. Y'all didn't know his name because you're not reading this shit. But anyway, Wendell, fucking the coolest Radiant, fucking dies. You know what God damn it. I love Radiant Black, dude. And I'm going to keep buying it because it's just like Power Rangers. I'm just going to keep buying it.
I just love that Kyle Higgins did Power Rangers. He did it well. He did it to a point. He was off of it. Then he did Power Rangers again.
I've made this comparison before and I absolutely mean it. But like Power Rangers is like Collective Soul and Radiant Black is like Candlebox. It's slightly edgier and smokes cigarettes, right? And so like those two are the two that are to get the comparison, right? But
I love that I understand the reference.
But just like Candlebox
It certainly helps.
and Collective Soul, there comes a time when you're like, do I need to hear this again? I don't know which one of them is singing.
And every time you ask, should I hear another Collective Soul? You hear a voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those dudes 5 times live in my life, bro. I love them.
So anyway, so that's the massive verse.
Dude, they fucked you, man. You didn't even know there were alternate endings.
No.
What is the point of that? That doesn't make any sense.
It
sells money.
It sells
Oh,
comics.
Jesus Christ.
They're like, yo, we got 20 people at every comic shop that read this shit.
Maybe.
We can
If
make
you're
it
lucky.
40 if we.
Dude.
Everybody was hoping to get some of that Netflix Mark Millar money. Netflix signed that exclusive deal with Power Rangers. Now Kyle Higgins is like, screw it. This is the only avenue I have. And then last but not least, probably one of my this is my slept on pick. All right. And if it paid, this hurts, you guys. But Cullen Bunn is doing really well with Ghost Lore. And I don't know. I don't know how long I can keep this up. Because it does break me a little inside to put praise on my man Cullen Bunn. But this was so good. And like I love the setup. I love that we're getting this, like there's an ongoing narrative between the preacher, his daughter, and they just introduced a new villain. And it's also just like an anthology ghost story where we're dealing with people's traumas that they're carrying over into the afterlife and resolving those. It's cool. It's like the X-Files, right? You watch it for the X-File, but there's some cool stuff happening with the characters from the X-Files. I don't know what their names are, but there was cool stuff happening with them.
Huh.
So I liked it.
I've met
Talking
Cullen
about
Bunn.
Mulder and Scully.
Cullen Bunn is a great person.
He's a great dude.
Oh,
I
he's
met him
totally
in
cool.
Memphis.
Yeah.
He was at Heroes Con.
Yep.
I can't stick through a Cullen Bunn book outside of Dark Arc for some reason, though. I don't know what it is, man.
It's tough.
He did the Reanimator book that I had my exclusive cover on, and I never really talked to him about it.
There's this really dope show that I watch on Monday nights, and it's called Pop Culture Philosophers Movie Night. And every once in a while, there's this guy that's on who just talks all the time. He's throwing graphics and shit up on screen. Nothing substantive. He just does all that shit for sizzle to the steak that doesn't exist. And every time I see that guy, I'm like, he seems like a nice guy. He's trying so hard. But that's how I feel about Cullen Bunn. I know he's a great guy, but we all read Out of Body. All right, let's not pretend that Cullen Bunn did not write 70 bad Aftershock books.
Wait, here's the thing. He wrote 70 Aftershock books, where most people wrote maybe 5.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Cullen Bunn's got 5 books out a week, bro. Okay,
his work ethic is insane.
Yeah. So many books he did not get paid for from Aftershock. So many books.
That's actually a deep cut behind the scenes. Fuck, Manny. All right.
I'm just kidding. Kidding.
He's prolific.
I probably have like some sort of do not talk about clause or some shit. So that being said, those were all jokes. Those views do not reflect Nerdtastic news. They do reflect
Cullen Bunn's prolific. So with the output, I'm not even kidding. This dude does so many damn books, and he does some good work. I think Cullen's a good dude. I'm not trying to talk shit about Cullen.
Yeah.
I'm not.
He
either,
autographed.
It's a bit.
Last time I saw him, he autographed a kid-friendly trade, and gave it to my daughter for free because we were just chatting for like 20 minutes. The dude's awesome in my book. He's great.
We were at Memphis, and I told you, Nick, that I was
Yeah.
nervous to go meet Cullen
Yeah.
because I don't have the best of things to say about some of his books. Sometimes I drop out of them really quickly.
Yeah, Basilisk was one of
I
them.
ran
Yeah.
into him while looking for horror toys at one of the vendors there, and
Right.
Mm.
we chatted about horror.
Yeah.
I love the dude. I think he's he's awesome. I saw him on the streets walking in Charlotte, and I was like, "What's up, Cullen?" He goes, "Hey, what's up, man?" I was like, and I was just thinking, we did a book together.
Right. That must be weird.
Like, what? That's so weird. We did a book together, and that's what I get. Like, hey, what's up, Cullen? Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, man.
That's
Who
funny.
gives a shit, right? Cullen's a good dude. Anyway,
I got like 17 Eric Burnham signatures. He's been on my show like 7 times. Every time I've seen him at a shop, at anywhere, he has never looked up from whatever he's doing to even say. I'm just like, Eric, what's up, dude?
everybody's
So I
loving
feel
that
you.
Manny shot. All right. Great show tonight. Chris, real quick, you got any thoughts on the supermassive verse or how they fucked you this week? I know you're into that shit.
No,
right?
no, I am not. I dropped out quite early. Yeah,
You like
unfortunately.
No One, though, right?
I do like No One. Is that like part of that?
Yeah,
We
I
still
think
don't
it is.
know because I didn't know after reading one issue, and I'm like, oh, it's going to get cleared up.
On the
eventually.
back, I think it says a supermassive book or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Does
I
it?
see. I've
Oh.
seen that, but it feels like its own
right.
thing.
They're
Okay.
throwing that label on shit because they're like, no one's reading it anyway.
He's
We're
like, who
just-
else wants to do a
Feels
comic book?
independent.
Call it all super massive.
I would actually
Yeah.
talk you. I owe it to you to eventually, at one point in my life, sit down and read those books and actually dive in. I liked Radiant Black at first, and I just kind of fell out of it. But
Yeah. me
come
too.
on, that's kind of
Same
bullshit,
here,
right?
yeah.
You're gonna put 2 different endings on a book where there's supposed to be a big
That's-
fucking decision. Like, raise your hand if you think that's bullshit.
I
mean, yeah.
I voted. I borrowed people's phones, and I was like, this shit needs to be Nathan. Like, this
Do you
is
read this?
stupid.
Do you read this, Nick? Do you read this stuff?
No, I don't. I dropped off of Radiant Black probably issue like 5, something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
me too. I think,
And then
okay.
I every single issue, every single series that has spun out of that, I tried the first 2 or so issues, and it's something about it. I just couldn't get into it for honestly. But I know there's fans. I mean, someone's been talking about Rogue Sun in the chat all night, so I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't read it.
I love that they only pick the good books too. Like they're cherry picking the like super massive had like Dead Lucky, Rogue Sun, and Radiant Black. No other characters in that book. And in each one of those books, the world is ending. There's some massive threat that is ending the world, and they're like, "Well, we're just gonna go on this stupid fetch quest and not address any of it."
Well, Fable, who you got to blame for that? Not me.
It's probably
You got this
me.
guy right here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
probably.
It's got some really cool ideas that I will make. I've made a bunch of apologetic videos for, so they're there.
Kentucky too.
All right. Well, I said we weren't going to do a 3-hour show tonight, but I guess fuck it.
There we are.
So real quick, they just made an announcement. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. There's going to be a $17 variant that has a Godzilla roar when you open it up. Who here is going to buy that?
No.
Because I am.
Maybe.
It's gonna be like a
$17, man.
Hallmark
That's
card.
pretty dope.
Comic books have finally caught up to Hallmark
To Hallmark.
20
yeah.
years ago.
I mean, it's got to
when
be
is that- when
cardstock.
Yeah.
When is
Somebody's
that
gonna
supposed
use
to be
that for
coming out?
evil.
If, I guess what? October, I think is October, September, something like that.
Wow.
I think October.
Oh my god, it's gonna
It's
be like
funny.
DC. DC is giving me like one of those silly Hallmark cards for my birthday. That's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
there
That's
you
gonna be
go.
great.
All right. I appreciate everybody for being here, taking your time out of your day to watch this show, taking your time out to be a part of this show panel. Great, insightful thoughts. Everybody, we love you. Chris, thank you for being here, man. Who are you?
Man.
Where can we can find links to all of these channels, by the way, in the description below. They are there. Friends of the channel. Go sub up to them. Chris, what you got coming up?
Just real quick, you mentioned Hayden Sherman a bit ago. I got this today. It was a Kickstarter for Wasted Space, and it's the
Oh wow.
the hardcover
Nice.
omnibus here, man. The complete saga. So I'm really, really excited. I have actually never read wasted space. And I
What?
actually interviewed Michael Morisi without reading that book, so that was fun.
Bro, that's one of the best comics of the last 10 years.
I cannot wait, dude. I cannot wait. This weekend I'm starting it. So, I am Lost in Comics, Chris. Lost in Comics. I do a weekly top 3 video every single Thursday morning, where I talk about my top 3 comics that I read this week. I also do comic reviews on that video, and tell you, books that I enjoyed. And I read quite a stack of comics. Not quite as many as Robbie, but definitely read a lot. But we are a comic loving YouTube channel. We talk about characters, creators, do a lot of creator interviews. We've got Jonathan Hedrick coming up in a couple weeks, and then David Pepos coming up in a few weeks as well. So, man, really excited about both of those guys. And like I said, we're all about positivity, man, and keeping things on the positive side at Lost in Comics, man. So that's our spiel.
That's why we vibe so well, Chris, man. We keep the
I
positivity.
love it, man.
We talk about what we love, and we talk about the shit we love to talk shit about. But that's what we do here. And David and Jonathan, both friends of the show. Jonathan is the reason I made it to MegaCon. One of the reasons. One of the many reasons.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Love that dude forever. He's got a Kickstarter going on. Check it out right now. Nick.
Heck yeah.
What's coming up for you, bro?
Oh, not a whole lot, just, comic book reviews and whatnot. But I want to spend this time to showcase 2 different people that I want the community to show some love to. Obviously, we have Fable over One Collection down. Go over to his YouTube channel and support him. Go over on IG, support him for the Blame Fable show and his amazing friends.
Yeah.
A
Speaking
show
of
that we
which-
have some great guests coming up here very, very soon on Sunday. So
Looking forward to that.
Chris
Yeah.
forgot to plug that for some reason, but we're not going to hold that
It's
against
going.
you.
I plug it on. I plug it on my own all over the place, man. What
That's
am I
right.
supposed to do?
I'm just kidding. You left it for Nick, man. I appreciate that.
That's right. That's right. I hopefully will be there for the host spot. So I can't wait to reconnect with
Hopefully.
everybody and everybody. I know. It's crazy. And then the other person I want you guys to go check out is Dr. Doom's fan club over on YouTube as well, because he's spinning up a new show with Steph, and we need some subs over there to get him able to do some lives over there. So jump over to Dr. Doom's fan clubs. Stu, we all know and love him from IG. Go over there, give him a sub. Let's get him up and running on YouTube as fast as possible.
In the chat tonight, him and Steph both.
Absolutely. Yep. For sure.
And Fable was in the chat too. And I do want to plug this real quick, is that me and Chris are going to be on Fable and His Amazing Friends this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yes.
So
Correct.
2 hour
Central.
time, right, Nick?
2 Central. Mhm.
Okay. I just got to make sure I kept that right.
Yeah.
Because I wrote down 3 on my calendar, and I'm glad I verified that tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will be there. I'm super excited. Fable changed the fucking day of his show for me, so I really appreciate that.
Aww.
I'm
Beautiful.
very excited for that. Carrie,
Yeah.
officially Unofficial Geek.
That's
What's
me.
coming up?
Well, I'm gonna finally make my return back to my weekly comic review. I also do the show usually with Joe with Bizarro Fett on Wednesday. What's happening Wednesday? Next week, probably going to do some content involving. It's not comics, but I'm going to Gen Con on next Thursday, which is the best 4 days of gaming in Indianapolis, which is where I live. So I'm going to be checking out Gen Con. I'm going to be really exciting. Joe is actually, Bizarro Fed is going to be meeting some favorite authors of his, the people responsible for Dragonlance. So if you're familiar with that, he's going to be meeting them. I actually, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to be taking a little seminar lecture about comic book writing there. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
You going to pick up some Lorcana product while you're over there in Gen Con?
Some what now?
Oh,
Is that the Disney card
It's a new
game?
Disney trading card game coming
Dude,
out next month.
That is
How-
severely allocated to every shop. It's going to be the most rare fucking you're going to see YouTube video. The whole YouTube channel is going to spring out of this, man.
I got everything pre-ordered too. So
Really?
hopefully it comes in. Yeah, my shop got a decent amount. So yeah. Yeah, it's a new trading card game from Disney. Yep, has all the.
I'm
focus.
sure if it's who's
Ravensburger or whatever they're called is doing it.
Okay.
They're at booth like 4001 or 2001 or something like that.
Yeah.
You'll see 'em
Okay,
there.
I'll have to look into that.
Go get some shit. If they have exclusives,
Yeah,
buy
they'll have
them.
booster box,
It'll
they'll
be
have
worth
starter
money.
packs, they'll have
Trust
all that
me.
stuff.
It's gonna be worth money.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not even
it's-
kidding. That's your spec tip of the month. Buy into
Okay.
that game if you can.
It's exclusive to us comic shops, game shops first for the first 2 weeks, and then it's going to go to big box stores after that. But yeah,
Well, it's
So
probably
it'll
gonna
be really
it'll
sought
start
after
by-
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It will start out as being exclusive to Gen Con, and then
yeah.
because
yeah, it's already pre-selling online like double. You know, it's insane. The spec is incredible for that thing.
crazy. Okay.
But they'll be there. Check them out.
Yeah. Alrighty.
We just
Yeah,
convinced half of our audience to leave comics for speculation purposes and go into card games.
Oh, not just card games. Like, dude, like some of the stuff, like especially with D&D and everything like that. Yeah, that's primarily why I go, is because of the D&D and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So
I hope you have a good time, Carrie.
I will try.
Send us pictures, please.
Oh yeah, I'll be posting to Instagram.
Okay. And check you out on Instagram as well.
Yes, add officially unofficial geek as well.
Hell yeah. Manny, what you got coming up, or what do you want to plug, brother?
You know what? I'm actually gonna plug myself tonight. I got some shit coming up. Your eyes got an Otaku Odyssey coming up this weekend. Talking about Luffy's 5th gear for One Piece. So if you're into One Piece and anime, Nerdtastic News, our anime correspondent's got a cool video coming for you. And I had to rewrite a script because I realized at a point during the writing process that I cannot afford any of the special effects that I need to make this video work. So I rewrote my script where we're going to be talking about Green Lantern Rebirth and covering the history of Parallax prior to the 90s depression that was Hal Jordan back in those days. We'll be talking about all of that. There's skits, there's all kinds of stuff. There's even a cameo from Scott Stapp from Creed in the video. You're gonna want to make sure that you check that out. And that'll be I think it's supposed to come out Monday, but I'm neurotic about it, so it might be like Tuesday. But it's cool. It's if you liked Chamorro Cinema back in the like 2014 2016 days when we did a lot more skits and shit like that's kind of the return to form that we're doing. You're not going to see me doing the Sunday Comic Rewind anymore because it got super high views and stopped getting views, and I'm like I'm a whore for that shit, so I quit doing that. But you will see more of these trade paperbacks and full story reviews. So
I'm excited for that. That sounds really fucking fun.
Yeah, it's super long and it's boring, but I'm super pumped to get it out there. But I've been editing it for like the last month, so for me it sounds
Sweet.
abysmal. But I hope you guys like it.
Well, shit, man. All right. Well, here at PCP, we're very geared up right now for Horror Fest to start at the end of August on Dylan's Horror Show. But we're still in Action Fest, so Monday, join us for a full loaded, awesome panel. Me, Jelani, Brooks, Brian, Joe, and Hammer Time Holshoe talking about the original Predator movie. I rewatched it last night. Best experience I ever had watching the movie. Did it have anything to do with the 2 tequila shots I had right before? Maybe. But it was great.
Always.
I've watched that movie completely tanked, right? And thought it was just okay. I loved it this time. Maybe it was because I was more sober. Who fucking knows? I'm very excited and geared up for that movie night. And then we got Beverly Hills Cop, the trilogy review the week after that to end Action Fest, 2-week break. And then we're coming back for Horror Fest. And if you're part of the PCP Army right now on Facebook, go and vote in the PCP Army movie poll for Horror Fest. Y'all picked 13 movies. Everybody's voting on them. And right now, it is very close between Tales from the Hood and Bone Tomahawk.
Damn.
Right? And right now, one vote, last I checked, separated the two. So go let your voice be heard on Facebook, PCP Army.
I want to shout out for Night of the Comment, which is the one I picked, because of Chakotay.
It's not going to win, Carrie. I'm sorry.
You know,
I wanted Return of the Living Dead. That's not going to win either. It broke my heart and Linnea Quigley's, but it's just not going to happen. It's
I
going to
think
be
I
one of
spent
those
3 years jockeying for Dr. Sleep. I ended up having to use it for my Crew's Choice pick. It never was happening.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what. If enough people gang together, The Descent could possibly upset Victory, the whole thing.
How is Scooby-Doo doing? Because
poorly.
Oh.
But it's doing better than Night of the Comet. I'm sorry to tell you.
Oh my God.
I love Night of the Comet. You can check out the video right now on DHS. Me, Bueller, and Dylan talked about Night of the Comet, Night of the Demons, and Night of the Creeps, all in one show. It was a great show. You should check it out if you've never watched it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Predator and Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. Manny, you going to be available for that? Because I got a spot for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Most definitely.
All right, brother. We got you, my man. All right. So start watching those movies, and then Horror Fest. Y'all saw the lineup. It's really good stuff. But really, go check out everybody else's channels. Great content there. I do not bring these people onto this panel because they just because they're the only ones that agree. I bring them on this panel because I think so highly of everybody's opinions about comics here. Nick, Chris, Carrie, Manny, I love y'all. And y'all are my homies, my brothers, my sisters. I love you. You are family. We are dipping out here at PCP. So remember, wherever you go, there you are. Think about how amazing comics are and just dig the art of reading.